All right. Let's do this.
Let's actually start something.
Let's actually start. Hello, listeners, and welcome back to the Rogue Valley Roleplayers. And we are starting a brand new show. I'm going to go ahead and interrupt myself right there and say we do have dogs. I have 2 dogs of the medium size, so they're not terribly barky, but they're wiggly waggly, and you're going to definitely hear Porthos' tail smacking against some stuff because he is a lab, and that is what labs do.
A really cute lab.
He is a really cute lab.
Baseball bats for tails.
Baseball bat for tail. So, Rogue Valley Roleplayers, and we are starting a brand new Deadlands Reloaded show. The name of the show for this, or the name of the campaign, if you will, the one and the same, but we are calling it Valley of Famine, set in none other than the Rogue Valley in southern Oregon. So we're getting a little meta there. The Rogue Valley Roleplayers are playing in the Rogue Valley. I don't know if that's meta. I just said that. My name is Ben. I'm here with Rosemary, Austin, and Ed. And we've got a new voice on the podcast, if not necessarily a new name, but Nick S., not to be confused with Nick L. From Hell on Earth. And, that's, I probably should have written some sort of other thing out. I don't know. But, set in the Rogue Valley, going with that whole Psalm 23 thing. Yea, though I walk in the valley of famine, I shall fear no hunger. I really wanted to come up with a version of the whole psalm, but I was lazy.
It's probably on your phone.
The best of us.
What?
Or are we going to make your own version of it?
I was going to make my own version of it. I had looked it up and wanted to twist it to go with the famine theme, but...
Well, here you go. You just make a version after the game and then just edit it in. There you go.
Yeah, that's true. My name is Ben. I'm playing the Marshal for this campaign. And, Rosemary, why don't you go ahead and introduce your character?
Okay, so
I'll have some questions. We're going to do not a traditional introduction for this episode.
So should I give like a bit of her background?
Yeah. Let me write some stuff here down.
Alrighty.
That's Porthos smacking his tail against the blinds there. Stop licking me. Hi. Okay.
And then do you also want now like kind of how I envision where she's living in the Rogue Valley too?
Yeah, I'll have some questions.
Oh, okay.
Well, let's start with the kind of the brief, like your character's name, kind of a words abandoning me all of a sudden. I'm a writer, guys.
Description.
Description.
Okay, maybe should we list the hindrances that we took too?
We'll get there, yeah.
Okay. Well, so I'm Rosemary. I'm playing Rachel Jane Kennedy, and she is a hexslinger. So, as I understand it, hexslingers basically channel magic through their guns. And so Rachel is the deputy in
Jacksonville.
Okay, cool. And basically she fled to Oregon after telling her abusive husband that she was leaving him. And it was she comes kind of with a traumatic background, but she's trying to put that behind her and like move on with her life.
And if you want to keep some of that background secret and will come out during gameplay, that's fine. Just tell us what people know about Rachel. And what name does she like to go by? Does she like people to call her Rachel? Does she prefer Deputy Kennedy?
Ooh, like close friends I bet would call her Rachel, but most towns would know her as Deputy Kennedy, probably. And then, so she's, I took heroic, so she's a good person. Like, if you're in trouble, like, Rachel's the person you want to go to, because she takes her duties as deputy very seriously, and, she's an all-around good person to have on your side of the fight, I think. Although, she is ugly, so I guess her description, she's kind of, I imagine her like around my height, like 5'7", 5'8".
Okay.
And she's got long red hair. She generally dresses in like pants, shirts, vests, since she's a deputy, she doesn't really want to wear skirts. She's got a duster, a Stenson, and then
What color duster and Stenson? I mean, what's her uniform, if you would?
So she tends to wear a lot of black and grays.
Okay.
Very monocolor color scheme. It's like occasionally she'll be like a little bit fancy and wear something that's white, but it's mostly like black duster. I'm thinking black pants, maybe a gray vest, gray shirt maybe.
Okay.
And she's got this scar on her face that kind of cuts across her like from like her chin across her mouth up, kind of curves around by her eye.
Okay.
So she's got the ugly hindrance.
Does that kind of pull her lips up into like a permanent
a little
sneer?
bit. It's definitely like nobody's going to be wanting to kiss her anytime soon, I think. Although, you never know. She's a good person. So, let's see. She has a dog named Scout, who's a golden retriever, and for now he's just an NPC dog. So I don't imagine that he will show up in combat right away. Maybe down the line if I take, is it Beast Bond or whatever it is?
Something like that.
Yeah.
There's two of them.
So that's something I'm going to work towards. And then she also has a horse, so she likes animals, and I think that's probably good for her beginning story.
What was your horse's name?
Horse's name was Oakley.
Oakley, that's right.
Yeah. I don't know, like, should I reveal that part of her?
If you want to.
So basically, Rachel fled her husband and had the assistance of one Annie Oakley, which is how she learned to hex sling. So she traveled with Annie Oakley for a while in the not a circus but a sharpshooting. Is it?
I think it was a circus.
Part of a circus.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It wasn't like your
Wild Bill,
traditional
Wild Western circus. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So and Annie Oakley and her became good friends, and Annie taught her how to shoot.
I like that. I think Annie Oakley is pretty absent from the Deadlands lore.
Yeah.
So I really like the idea that she's a hexslinger herself.
I like that too. And so in honor of that friendship, she named her horse Oakley.
Nice.
I think it's actually kind of funny though. Like, I didn't think Annie Oakley. I thought of the Oakley sunglasses. That.
Oh.
That's kind of what I thought at first too. I'll admit it.
Oakleys were my favorite sunglasses in the world.
She also has a really cool pair of sunglasses.
Yeah.
She's not that going for
The horse.
Describe where does Rachel live, and what kind of state is it kept in? Whatever. Just describe her home.
I would imagine she's got like this little kind of. When she first arrived, she probably lived with family. I think she's got a sister in the area who's married. So like when she needed to leave, she like wrote her sister, and her sister was like, "Yeah, come out west."
Were they her sister and her family? Are they farmers, ranchers, or prospectors?
Probably,
it's kind of like the three big industries here.
I'm guessing since Jacksonville is known for the prospecting, probably her husband's a prospector.
Okay, so they have a claim.
Yeah.
What do they mine?
Maybe gold or silver.
Gold was big, especially out in the Applegate.
Yeah, I feel like gold is pretty big, so we'll say he's mining for gold.
Okay.
He's got like a little claim.
You got a gold claim.
Yeah. So she lived with them initially when she arrived, but I think now, she's a deputy. She kind of, she's good with guns, and the local sheriff knows that, offered her, saying like, hey, you want to help out? I could use a good shooter, and she said sure, so using that.
All downhill from there.
Yeah, totally. So she's got like a little small place probably close by her sister's house. Like nothing fancy though.
Just a small homestead, really, just basically a house, no fields or anything like that. House and like a small barn for your horse.
Probably. Yep.
Okay. Cool. I can't think of any more questions I want to ask right now, so let's move on to Austin.
Hey, this is Austin, and I'm playing Macario the Payaso.
And how do you spell all that?
Macario is Macario, kind of spelled like Mario, the video game character, with the C right in the middle.
Okay.
And an extra A.
And then the Macario the what?
The Payaso. That's Payasoo. Payaso.
What does that mean?
That means clown.
Okay.
So,
Listeners, you can tell that I, for sure, am a gringo.
yeah, I'm also a gringo, so I'm probably going to say some pretty dumb things, but I'll try not to. I will try to say smart things. Yeah, so Macario has had a lot of tragedy in his life. I'm not going to go into it right now. Maybe it'll come up later.
Okay.
But he's moved north because that's his calling, and he knows it's his calling. And when he reaches the Rogue Valley, just a big, huge, genuine smile comes across his face, and he climbs down off of his horse, Guapito, which means little cutie. It's the ugliest horse you've ever seen. Has one eye higher than the other and a big snout with like one nostril that's always dripping goo. It's a disgusting, ugly horse, but it's his faithful companion. And he rode it all the way from Southern California to the Rogue Valley. So he and that horse have been through quite a bit together. Loves it.
All right. Keep going.
And yeah, so once he gets to the Rogue Valley, he's looking for work, but he is a man with tan skin in an area that's, I believe, mostly controlled by kind of like whites. Is that right? Or
Yes. So the Rogue River Indian Wars took place back in 1843, where the U.S. basically butchered and murdered all the local tribes. And for the purpose of our game, listeners, I am going to refer to the local tribes as the Rogue River Native Americans because I took a look at the names and I couldn't find a pronunciation guide anywhere, and I have no idea how to even begin pronouncing some of the local tribes. So if you have any clue, please message me, let me know. Okay, someone's raising their hand over here.
I can help. I am Native American, and I know a lot more about pronunciation and certain things. Some of them I'm a little unfamiliar with, but we can work together on figuring out more of that.
The Klamath and Modoc, I can pronounce those, but there was some other...
The Kelmer.
Were they... Yeah, I thought they weren't necessarily native to the Rogue Valley.
They're closer to Idaho.
Okay.
Closer to, but still within the Oregon area.
But yeah, we're try to be respectful, of course, but I don't want to get too caught up on learning how to pronounce things.
Fair enough. Yeah, so Macario, he's about 6 feet high, handsome man, has a healthy head of hair, black hair. He has to keep it short, though, because it's important that he keeps it short for his job. And he has just a really wonderful smile. Like, if he smiles at you, you know he's got you. You know, he's one of those guys where he's just got that inborn charisma. Mm-hmm. So even though in the back of his mind, he's a little bit worried about finding work, he knows that he's right where he's supposed to be, and he thinks he'll find it pretty quick.
And how newcome to the Rogue Valley are you? Like, just beginning of the campaigns, like you've just arrived?
He's just arrived,
okay.
Yeah.
All right.
He's looking for work.
That works really well, and I'll get into that, but I'll leave that a secret for now. So that means you don't really have a permanent residence just yet.
Not yet.
All right. But you do have a reason, and we haven't quite gotten into that because it's kind of with your background, right?
Right.
Yeah, but you have a reason for staying in the Rogue Valley.
He's got a very good reason.
All right. Anything else?
I think that's enough for now.
All right. What does he wear? What are his colors?
He wears very bright clothes, very neatly kept. Basically, he's kind of like a walking rainbow, but in a pleasant way. Like, he knows how to match it. You know?
Uh-huh.
He's got like bright blues, bright reds, bright greens, but somehow he makes it all work.
He knows how to tie it all together.
He can tie it all together, and you know, you see him coming from a mile away. He's not going to sneak up on anybody, but you know, he just has that sort of exotic look about him in an appealing way.
What sort of weapons does he carry? I know Rachel's got her 2 guns.
Yeah.
And we'll let Austin finish his description, but we'll come back to that because as a hexslinger, your guns are pretty important.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, he's pretty lightly equipped as far as weapons go. He didn't come here to kill people. He came here to do his work. He does have some ropes in his backpack, like more than a normal person would have. Just rope after rope after rope, just all the right size to do something with. I'm not really sure what yet. And he does have actually just like an old hand-me-down rapier, but it's a small one. It's not necessarily meant for combat so much as like training, or it's sharpened to a point. If he had to defend himself, he could.
Is it kind of more like what a bullfighter? Because I know that's. Is that big in Mexico at this time, or is that really more of a Spain thing?
I would assume the Spanish influence would have caused some of that.
Would have brought some of it. Yeah. So I don't know what they call it, but I know they have a specialized sort of rapier-like sword.
The
get you away from the noise stuff, huh, Porthos?
Yeah, he has. I'm going to say that in Deadlands, yes.
Yeah.
And he has taken part in that in his past at some point that maybe we'll get into later.
Okay. Cool. Anything else?
No, I think it's good for now.
All right. Ed.
Alright, I am Ed. I am playing Daisy Gilmore, and most of the people know her as Railin Daisy. Because Daisy was raised on the railroads in Ghost Rock. Her father, Trevor, is a scientist working for the Denver Pacific Railroad. He's the inventor of the backyard bender and the railgun. The railgun is an infernal device that uses ghost rock to shoot rail spikes, saving much needed time and labor over the standard sledgehammer. Daisy, being no stranger to ghost rock or science,
Science!
wields a modified version of this weapon.
What was the last name again?
Gilmore.
Gilmore, okay. Yeah, give us a physical description of Railin.
She's, pretty average height, like 5'8", we'll say. She actually wears, like, gauntlets, kind of like gauntlet gloves, big knee-high boots, just regular pants, suspenders over a blouse, and, like, not a sombrero per se, but a wide-brimmed kind of hat. Yeah. Long hair, often in a ponytail. Brown hair. Brown eyes.
And what kind of what are her colors as far as dress goes?
Mostly earth colors, like brown.
Earth tones.
Her shirt, yeah. She might have. She has some kind of like fancy like inlays in her gloves and boots.
Okay.
Like, embroidery, which I'd say is blue, but yeah, and her shirt, white shirt, basic.
Okay. And how new come is she to the Rogue Valley?
She has not been in the road. Well, no, she's been here a while now.
Okay. And
I'm changing my backstory in my mind. As
okay.
Just to fit with what we're making up as a story. It's like, all right. Yeah.
So
yeah, she grew up, like I said, her dad was in the Denver Pacific Railroad. So she grew up with him. Her mom is dead.
Okay.
And when
you think?
Oh yeah. Yeah. So she eventually, when she got of age, ran off and joined the circus.
Okay.
And that's what brought her to the Rogue Valley. Is she's kind of working with the local circus, repairing their stuff, things like that.
Now the circuses are pretty transitory. There's no it's not a circus that stays in one town all the time.
Yeah, well, this is like, maybe where they're based out of here or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah. And, yeah, the big thing about her is, her dad she just found out that her dad has been kidnapped, and so she has a vow to try to find him.
Okay.
Doesn't know who, what, where, when, just that it's happened, and she's determined to... That's what made her, decide to modify the railgun to what it is today.
Speaking of, I want to hear a description of the railgun.
The railgun is, basically it looks like it looks like the Fallout 3 railgun, basically. If you're familiar with that. So, yeah, it's this giant gun. It has, a pressurized tank for, ghost rock and things like that. And when you see Daisy shoot it looks like there's spikes coming out. And sometimes, there's some other things that looks like molten spikes.
Does it do that whole train whistle when you fire it?
Yes.
That's awesome.
Actually, there's a wooden train whistle thing that you can buy.
I used
and
to
I thought,
have one.
oh man, I wish I had one of those.
Oh god,
for
so I
every time I shoot.
probably have one somewhere in a box of Legos in storage somewhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, my brothers and I used to have tons of those train whistles. Those were the best.
But yeah, it definitely makes that noise.
Nice.
All right. Anything else?
What do you need?
She's been here. You've decided for a while. So what does her home look like?
It's just basically like a little, like not much of a home, some simple little like shack kind of thing
Okay.
with workbenches and things, like with a little cot. Like,
Does she live in town? Which town, if so?
she'd live in Ashland, I guess.
All right.
That's where the circus is based.
There you go. Okay, we'll say for the purpose of the story, there is like the prelude to the Oregon Shakespeare Festival. That's already
Little baby
established.
Angus Bomer. Who did he know? Oh yeah.
I was going to comment that it's actually really
He's probably not
accurate
born yet.
that Jacksonville is the predominant settlement for the town.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Because Medford here would have only been a railroad stop.
Well, since it is an alternate history, Medford's a little more established than it would have been in our history in 1884. In 1884, it became incorporated as a town. It was established in, I want to say, 1883. Early 1883, they started laying the groundwork for the railroad, and it was basically a tent city. And both Ashlandville and Jacksonville were thoroughly fucking pissed that the railroad had decided to build through the area that would become Medford instead of closer to either of them.
Yeah.
And let's be honest, they're both still pissed.
Yeah.
But the major rail company through this area is Iron Dragon, and through the power of Ghost Rock and all the other weirdness that's been going on in the West and the Great Rail Wars, they actually got the rail line built through the Rogue Valley a lot earlier than it did in our history. So Medford it's not the Medford as we know it. It's still a pretty small, podunk little town, because people come, they take the rail lines. If they stop off in Medford, it's so they can go to Jacksonville or to Medford or somewhere else. Not Medford, Jacksonville or Ashland. It's not really so they can stay in Medford. So it's still a fairly podunk town, or settlement, really. Jacksonville is still the major political settlement in the Rogue Valley. It's where the county seat is. It's where the sheriff is based out of. That's who you work for. The sheriff's name, and I am. We'll get into that. I'm cutting off in the middle of other people's intros and stuff. So, digression. Anything else?
She chews tobacco.
All right.
Okay. First, I have a question. You said this is 1984?
1884. Yeah, 1980.
Synthesizers are just coming in.
I've been having a little whiskey. My numbers are getting all mixed up.
That's okay. That's okay.
So, my character's name is...
Speaking of whiskey.
he would have been, in his homeland of Japan, would have been known as Matsuhara Haru. But now in America, he's been in for 15 years. He's been stuck here looking for the Imperial Family's Daisho, which was stolen and brought here to America.
I've got some questions for you on that, but first, how do you spell your name? As we're gonna have it in the
As he prefers people calling him here in America Haru, so Haru.
Okay.
And his last name, his family name is Matsu, and then Hara, all one word.
All one word. Okay. Hara.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, who stole the Imperial Daisho? Was that
I'm thinking
someone locally? Was it a foreigner?
I'm thinking it was actually a foreigner, like one of the Americans or Europeans that came over.
Well, which one, American or European?
Oh, let's see. The common one back then would have been.
I think the major powers at that time, the major foreign powers in Japan was America and Britain.
I think it was an American advisor to the family for like the firearms race that Japan was going to towards the end of the 1860s, 1870s, and they were able to get close enough to them, and they're like, oh, well, I wonder what I can do with this, back home. And he brought it to America, and the emperor and his imperial senate were like, this is unacceptable. Let's send one of our shinsengumi after this guy.
Right.
And
of course, since the whole Civil War happened and dragged on, probably diplomatic relations with Japan have gotten really confused.
Yes.
Because now there's two governments.
Yes.
No, there's even more governments than that, because there's the United States of America, there's the Confederate States of America, there's the the sovereign state of Deseret, or however you pronounce it, where the LDS, not LSD, where the LDS are set up, and then there's a lot of territories that both the North and the South claim, but really have don't have the resources to force the issue, as it were. And then there's
Canada.
There is Canada, but there's also the California coast, which is just a mess. Reverend Grimm and his little empire of the Los Angeles have fallen because the flood has happened. And listeners, as you probably heard, the game is taking place in 1884, after the events of probably most of the Splat books out there, specifically the flood. I really have not read any of the plot point campaigns that are detailed in those books. I know in our other Deadlands game right now, we're doing a lot of stuff with Reverend Grimm, so as a player in that game, I didn't want to read any spoilers for it. I've been trying to be pretty careful about not reading any of that stuff, just in case Dave B decides he wants to use any of it. But yeah, I do know, just because of spoilers out there on the interwebs, that Reverend Grimm gets defeated in the course of the events of the flood, and Los Angeles gets devastated again by it's called the flood for a reason. A tsunami floods the city and destroys half of it.
Yeah, this is like our alternate version of what happens in Deadlands.
I know. In Dave B's, there's a very alternate from the core setting, and this is very alternate from the core setting too, because there's stuff in the core setting that it's all well and good, but I like to fly fast and loose. And there's, as far as I've researched, there's nothing about the Rogue Valley in any of the Deadland source books or anything. So I get to make up whatever I fucking want.
So yeah, he was just told that an American stole it.
Okay.
And so he came over to America. He's been stuck here for the past 10 to 15 years, trying to find this guy, but America's a very large place and
a very confused place at this point in time.
Very confused place. So he's gotten some leads, but they ended up turning up dead. He needed work. Ended up in the Rogue Valley. He's learned English in his time here. He's learned how to better, what's the word I'm looking for? Immerse himself in American culture and society. Assimilate. That's the word. Yeah, he's more assimilated. He still carries his set of daisho, but that's because he's very tied to it. He was one of the very few people after the end of the Meiji Wars that were allowed to continue to carry them as a shinsengumi, which is the sword police. I'm trying to think. Brain fart. Well, his attire is he wears a black shirt with a red vest, black duster, and boots. On the back of his duster is a red chrysanthemum wreathed in a red halo. Red ring.
I'm trying to remember how to spell chrysanthemum. I'm just going to guesstimate and call it good.
Yeah.
If
you can read it, that's the important thing. But it's because the chrysanthemum has a very important meaning to the imperial family.
Okay.
He specializes in what would be called Niten, or dual wielding his katana and wakizashi. using his wakizashi as a defensive weapon while he does his primary attacking with the katana. He is trained himself to use his chi or ki, depending on your region, with his weapons. He has a horse. He calls it Kun, both for the honorific Kun, because it's cute and just it's a horse, so it's just kind of got just a soft name, and then Kun because it's got the paint palettes with rings around its eyes and kind of weird just markings all over it. It was given to him to be used by the Iron Dragon.
Yeah, the Iron Dragon
Railway Company, because he works as an enforcer for them. He tries to stop people from rising up and being all pissed off about things. He tries to do it with a calm and gentle hand because it does have an honor code, and he tries to be like at least mitigate between the two. He does have some stigma against Chinese people, but because he also works for Chinese people, he's kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place. But he deals with it as best he can by,
It's a shitty situation. He's making the best he can.
Yeah.
One of the things, as an enforcer, the bulk of your work from day to day usually is keeping the workers in line and making things go smooth. The rail line is fairly well built and established. It goes from Shanfan, which is basically San Francisco, but controlled by the Chinese triads and what have you. The rail line goes from Shanfan up through to Portland, at least, and then across through Montana and out east, and it's fairly continuous. But the rail line still maintains workers to maintain the rail lines and man their warehouses, and of course, because it's Iron Dragon, they have a lot of less than legal operations going on, a lot of ties to various local triads throughout the West Coast, and so often your job entails supporting those operations, with the understanding that probably as an honorable samurai you find such things distasteful, so they try to you're there to do a job, but they try to respect that.
They're like, we have all these dishonorable things. Let's try to keep him towards the more light side of things, or else he may get too offended. And
it's easier to maintain your services by having you do jobs that you're okay with doing than it is trying to be force you to do something that would be dishonorable. But the other thing that often comes up is when things go wrong, when weird things happen, you're the one they call upon to go deal with it.
That makes sense.
So you've probably you're no veteran of the Weird West, but unless you took that edge, I don't know if you did. But you've probably seen a weird thing or two, things that couldn't be explained. And honestly, all of you have probably, as having magic backgrounds or having traveled quite a bit, you probably know that you've probably encountered a thing or two that was just like, this ain't fucking normal.
Should probably also describe his face and his hair and things like that as well. He's slightly older. He's got graying hair.
Okay.
It's kind of he keeps it short to keep with the idea that the Western cultures tended to start cutting their hair and keeping it short back then. So he keeps it nice and neat and tidy. He's got a nice mustache that kind of hangs down past his lips a little bit. And he's got a very prominent and discerning gaze. He tends to appraise every situation before jumping in. But if it's somebody he feels close to, a friend, he will put himself on the line between them and the problem. So he's a very loyal but very cautious person at the same time.
Okay, excellent. Describe your dice show. Is there anything specific?
They're both black sheath. Even though I know the proper terms for all the parts of the sword, I'm going to refrain from using them because they can get confusing. So he's got black sheaths with gold, leaf filigree running down almost. I don't want to say filigree because it's also a style of thing they do. It's more of just painted on there. With a red and black hilt to match his clothing colors,
Okay.
and a dragon on his Suba or crossguard.
Nice. And now getting back to you, Rosemary, on your guns. Let's hear a description of those.
So Rachel has 2 Colt peacemakers. So Rage is the name of one.
Ooh.
And that one is it's a dark metal, so it looks almost black.
Okay.
And it's got like silver runes inscribed into it, which is what she uses to channel the magic with, basically. So hexslingers basically use rune carving, right?
For your shootist power, you use that, but your guns probably are inscribed with runes,
right? And that's
things
what
to make them
channels
special.
the magic.
Yeah.
So probably on the handle of one is like a little, everything about it's got all these like kind of just cool looking patterns. Maybe like. I have to think on that. I'll go back to that.
Okay.
But then her other peacemaker is Retribution, and that is a white metal. So, and that's got gold on that one. So.
That's super sweet. All right, let me just write down some notes. Has anyone not rolled for their starting funds?
I have not.
Oh,
So-
I have not.
D20 plus 5, that's what you got in your pocket.
$12.
Woohoo!
$23.
What?
$7. That seems about right.
11.
Oh, we totally forgot. Your living quarters.
Oh yeah, I completely spaced it too. I'm thinking he has a semi-permanent residence at the local inn.
Hotel or whatever.
And what I mean by semi-permanent is he's kind of decorated it. It's kind of like it is his room, as long as he keeps paying for it.
And I'll say, kind of part of you get a very small stipend from Iron Dragon as being employed by them, and that will cover your cost of living. Same thing for you as well. You get a small stipend as a deputy, and that covers food and drink. And for the rest of you, we're not really going to worry about it. You're scrounging up money. We'll worry about expenditures on bigger things when you're traveling out and about. But as far as like basic food, you've got enough to be able to eat while you're in town. You may need to buy rations if you're planning to go out into the wilderness. Then we'll worry about food. You want to buy a drink at the local saloon outside of kind of your ordinary consumption, if you will. Then we'll worry about money expenditures then. But your basic living needs are covered.
All the chewing tobacco I can have.
No, that's not a basic living need.
So his room is very.
Although it's not really. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say his room is very pragmatic. Like a pragmatist lives there. He's got his bed, but he's got a desk that's got like decorations, maybe some little origami figures that he folds when he's needing to think about something.
Okay.
But he also writes letters home a lot.
Does he mail them?
Yeah, he would mail them.
Okay.
Does he have a chair, or does he kind of kneel?
He kneels.
Yeah.
He's fine. I mean, he'll use a chair if like he's at the bar or the saloon, as it would be. He'll use a chair then, but if he's by himself, he tends to revert back to just being Japanese. But when he's being around the Westerners, as y'all are, he'll indulge.
Okay.
He's trying to fit in. He's been here a while, so he's better at it than some would. But
he's not fresh off the boat.
Yeah, but he still very believes that he is Japanese, and he will act as such in his private time.
All right.
Very cool.
Rachel, what are your hindrances? Starting with your major.
Heroic is my major.
Okay.
And then I have an enemy, which I took as minor.
And who is your enemy? Or would you rather not say, and I know already who it is?
Yeah, Keep that secret.
Okay.
Just for dramatic purposes, maybe. Right? Be like, oh, and then ugly. I'm minorly ugly because I have a scar, which affects my charisma, so I'm not very charismatic.
All right. So Macario, his first hindrance is he's small, which is gameplay-wise that means it's -1 toughness, and
Is that a major?
it's a major. And what I'm saying for this is he received an injury right as he was going through his teenage growth spurt, which caused his bones not to grow as large as they otherwise would have, making him a little bit more frail than he would ordinarily be.
Okay.
For rodeo clown.
Yeah. He's illiterate, can't read. He can speak English and Spanish, and I bought the skill points for that.
We'll go over that. You're going to get some more skill points to spend.
Okay.
Yeah, I went through the same thing.
And he does have a minor that's an enemy, and it's kind of a spoiler for his character we can talk about later, but I don't think it's right for this moment.
Okay, that's fine. You already texted me about him, right? Is that still the same?
I think you were kind of
Okay.
the gist of it.
That's fine.
There's going to be so many dramatic reveals. I'm so excited.
Yeah. That's what
Let me go over about the language thing right quick, so that way you can maybe get your skills sorted out before we go on with this. So,
Okay.
I know in the other Deadlands game, we kind of forced Lance and JJ to spend skill points on languages because in the default rules is written Deadlands. If you're not a native English speaker, you have to spend skill points to gain fluency in other languages and whatnot. And I'm fairly certain I pushed that rule on everyone in the other Deadlands game.
I helped.
Did you help? Okay.
Thanks, Ed.
And so both Lance and JJ have pretty much wound up with skill points sunk in useless skills because they've never been called upon to roll to see, if they are fluent enough to understand a concept in English or whatever. And I don't want that for this game. So the way we're going to do languages is that you all know your native language, be that Spanish, English, Japanese, and then basically you're going to know a total number of languages equal to half your smarts die, one of which is going to be your native language. And the others you can decide your level of fluency in the others. That's going to be a role-playing thing, but basically you know enough to get by.
Okay.
So, I would go with Japanese and Chinese, so that way I can at least understand the language of my superiors. I may not let them know that I understand what they're saying, just because I'm cautious and I want to be able to be like, are they talking about something I would not like? But I wouldn't say I'm fluent in Chinese. I just kind of understand basic.
You can get by.
I can get by. Japanese and English, I'm fairly fluent in by now.
Right. Okay.
Which makes sense for your character.
Japanese, I'm 100%
Right.
fluent. English, I may not know bigger words.
Right.
And I may stutter over and be like, oh, how do you say?
Maybe certain idioms kind of like, okay, I know that means something, but what the fuck does it mean?
Yeah.
That makes me think of that T-shirt where it says, I use large words so that I sound photosynthesis.
Yes.
My wife says it almost too much.
So it's like the Pirates of the Spanish Main rules?
Yeah, I like those better because you only get so many skill points to spend, and it's...
Daisy.
Okay.
Railin.
So yeah, so if anyone spent skill points on languages, get those skill points back. Daisy, what is your major hindrance?
My major hindrance is my vow to rescue my father.
Okay, and next.
I have a minor habit of chewing tobacco.
And the next one?
And I also got heavy sleeper. Because I grew up on the railroads and all the loud noises just kind of don't mean much to me.
Haru, what is your major?
Code of Honor.
Code of Honor Bushido?
Yeah.
That's
It's always the gentleman.
Or was it chivalry, and this is a very ironic samurai?
No, it'd be, he follows the tenets of Bushido, and he also tends to follow Musashi's way of walking alone.
Okay.
So he doesn't believe in falling in love. He doesn't believe that he tends to do things on his own as much as he can.
Okay. And
So
your
sad.
first minor?
First minor is loyalty or loyal. He will put the Japan's needs ahead of his own. But if he makes friends, he will defend them as well. And his other minor would be cautious. I think that also plays into the fact of him having dealt with some of these, seeing some of the weird things in the Weird West. He's a little apprehensive about, like, oh, a strange fog is rolling in. A strange fog, you say?
Not quite a doubting Thomas, but definitely like, well, before we jump to conclusions on this,
Let's figure out what's happening first.
A doubting Tom. If you were doubting Thomas, you would say, "Here is conclusive evidence that this is some weird fucking shit happening right now," and you'd still say, yeah, no, I don't think it's weird. There is a logical explanation. We just haven't
Scully
figured it out yet.
That's a mirage.
You're like, okay, we've got the proof now that this is weird, so I'm willing to admit that it's weird.
But before we just jump the gun and
Right.
run at it, let's know what it wants, or find a smart way to handle this.
Let me go into the important personages in the Rogue Valley, and I decided to largely kind of ignore actual historical figures because I was lazy and I didn't want to do that much research.
That's a smart thing to do.
Also,
And it's an alternate history, so
Yeah.
things are different.
still have living descendants too.
That's true. So, the Jackson County Sheriff, your boss, Rachel, is Sheriff Abraham Ross. The Jacksonville Mayor is Harold Baxton.
Sounds like an ass.
I haven't decided yet, really. I just named these guys. I didn't flesh them out.
The name was again?
Harold Baxton.
Harold Baxton.
That is kind of an
Baxton.
asshole name.
Is it? All right, he's probably going to be an asshole
Oh,
then.
no.
It's Harold
It's been
Baxton.
decided.
Sounds like a douche.
We're just
Sorry
not
to
going to like
all
him no matter
listeners
what.
named Harold Baxton.
If you have the land, I'm sorry. You have
the entire
you have an
Baxton
asshole
family is
name.
our listener base, and now
I'm not sorry. You're in a position of power. Your family's always been in a position of power.
Watch the actual mayor of Jacksonville's name is Baxton. We're just like, whoa.
Whoops, how did that happen? Because I just made this shit up. Okay, the Iron Dragon rep, and I apologize in advance because I don't know how to pronounce this.
I will help you.
Lan Hui. She is a Vietnamese, a woman from Vietnam.
There you go.
And Haru. Lan Hui, just a small, fairly unintimidating looking woman, and yet she is like the most terrifying person you've ever met. She just has this quiet, she's very patient, never ever raises her voice, but when people irritate her, they tend to go missing. The Medford Marshal, looks like I misspelled Marshal here, is Edward Markson. The Medford Mayor is James Orville. And we've got some newspaper people. In Jacksonville, you've got the Oregon Sentinel, which is run by Alexander Corbin. That's Corbin. And then in Medford, we've got a branch office of the Epitaph, the Tombstone Epitaph, right here in Medford. Mm-hmm. And the main reporter for that runs that branch office is Valerie Rose. And then we've got a couple of other well-known locals that aren't necessarily, they don't have important positions per se, but we've got Ezekiel Boone, who's a known local gambler. He's pretty good at what he does. Wins consistently. He's only occasionally been called a cheat, but is never proven. And he's pretty local in Jacksonville. And then there's Jonathan Grove, who is purported what?
looks at the dogs.
Just
sort
the
of.
gross sounds.
Jonathan Grove it's unproved, but he is basically a local stagecoach robber. But so far he's been careful enough that no one's got any proof that he can be arrested on.
And what was the name of the Medford Marshal?
Wouldn't you like to know?
I probably should.
Edward Markson.
Oh.
Edward Markson. I was like, when you got to the Marshal, the names started happening so fast. I was trying to write it down. Like Edward
Markson.
Markson. Markson.
Okay, Edward Markson, and I'll take notes as we meet these people as well, just to kind of keep. I like having game notes.
Medford Mayor.
I'll wait for Dan to post all the names.
James Orville.
James Orville
is the Medford Mayor.
Okay.
Do you need anyone else?
The
Oregon
newspaper.
Sentinel.
Okay, Oregon Sentinel is Alexander Corbin.
And Tombstone Epitaph.
Valerie Rose.
Okay, I got the first name of the Oregon Sentinel, and then the Tombstone Epitaph. I got her last name, and I was like, shoot. Oh, and
and for players in the other Deadlands game, and for listeners who've been keeping up with the other Deadlands game, Valerie Rose is of no relation to Kane Rose.
That was the first thing that popped into my head. I was like, I wonder if it's his daughter or something.
He can't have children anymore. He's dead.
But he could have had children before he died.
No, he didn't.
No.
Now we know.
What was the purported stagecoach robber's name again?
Jonathan Grove.
How do you spell?
Grove.
Oh. There's probably going to be a lot of me going groove until I remember.
That's okay. And Ezekiel Boone was the local gambler.
I had to get his name.
All right.
I love that name. Is that the name?
That was the
Powell's?
author's name. We found it at Powell's, and I was just like, that is the greatest name ever.
My dice bank, though.
Oh, no.
Not proven, no.
Yeah. No one has managed to claim any charges that stuck.
So there was one, right?
What?
You remember what I told you at work the other day?
Oh yeah, you get one. Well, he's purportedly robbed more than one, but he's never murdered anyone, so he's got that going for him. He's, at the very least, he's good at what he does.
Is he like pork by any chance?
No.
Oh, okay. Good to know.
He uses wind to blow his tracks.
He robs and he steals. No one has ever identified him, but Jonathan, always has money and he doesn't work. So it's like, oh, we know that you're robbing stagecoaches, but no one is able to identify you, or at least no one who's been robbed has been able to identify you, and you haven't killed anyone. So we'll tolerate you in town. Since you're not killing people. All right, so it's convenient that you talked about coming here with the circus because, you know what, before we get into that, I know we've got at least one new player for the Deadlands, so I'm going to explain the fate chips that we drew earlier. So you got 3 colors plus a mystery 4th color that pretty much everyone but you knows about, so I'll go ahead and talk about it. 4 colors. The white chips are your bait. Oh, shit, I'm going to just throw it at people. The white chip is your basic Benny. You can use it to re-roll any trait rolls. You cannot re-roll damage or any rolls on a table.
Okay, so just so I can remember, trait rolls are anything like attributes or skills?
Correct.
Okay.
Now, it's convenient. I've got 3 of the 4 colors here. A red fate chip you can use exactly as a white chip, and there's no other consequences at all. Or you can use a red fate chip to add a d6 to a roll you've already made. But there you go. That was Ed rolling.
I'm doing the stewardess.
Yep.
On the airplane.
Thank you for demonstrating that to a podcast listener.
Yeah. You can spend the red fate chip to add a d6 to any roll, but when you do, I, the marshal, get to draw a Benny from the pot. So you spend it, I get an extra Benny to work with. Or you can spend it as a white fate chip, and there's no consequence. Then there are blue fate chips, which you don't have any, so it's not going to do you any good this session. But blue fate chips, you can do the same thing. You can spend it as a white, get a re-roll, or you can spend it to add a d6 2e roll, I don't get a fate chip in return.
Okay.
Then there's something that you gradually earn over time called legendary fate chips. Legendary fate chips are achieved when you defeat major evil villains or do things to lower the fear level, which we'll go into, and that's another thing we'll go into. When you lower the fear level, you gain a legendary chip that goes into the pot. Legendary chips are rare, but you get a couple of uses out of it. First of all, you can use them to, I don't know what he's getting into, but it's probably bad.
He's just chewing on a football.
Oh, that's... I thought it was worthless. Oh shit, I'm gonna fall.
It's not a kidney. It sounds like a kidney, but it's actually a football.
Yeah.
Sounds like a kidney.
We've already warned the listeners, there's dogs. At least they're not
Just curious how you know
barking
what
and
chewing
yelling.
on the kidney sounds like. Austin.
Rosemary, I could tell you, but I'd go to jail. And I'm the life of this podcast, so...
That is true.
There's a lot of things in this world that are illegal, even though they're not morally wrong.
That's also true.
So...
I'm just moving my chair this way, but I want you to know, no way in relation.
Come closer, let me tell you more.
No. All right, legendary chip. So you can spend a legendary chip to gain a... I think you get a reroll with a added d6 plus 2. I'm going to have to verify that, but I don't want to take the time right now. I'm not worried about it because there are no legendary chips to play. You're not going to find it in there.
No, I'm not looking at it.
Okay, perfect. And additionally, you can use legendary chips to re-roll damage rolls, which you can't do with any other fate chip or ordinarily. You can take no mercy, which if Lance were here, he would tell you to do so as soon as you hit seasoned. No mercy allows you to spend bennies to re-roll damage. You can also use fate chips to re-roll on tables. Or, alternatively, as Kane has used once because he drew a legendary chip like right at the end of the session and had no other use for it. If you save a legendary chip to the end of the session, you can turn it in for an XP.
Neat.
Yep. So, they are few and far between, but very useful when you get them.
Okay.
So, all right.
I'll keep that in mind.
Let's.
I don't want you having any bennies, so I may only spend my red one on.
That's fine. I'm quite accustomed to that. One other thing about the legendary chips is that I do not get to get them. If I draw a legendary chip at any point in time, there's any in the pot, it goes back. I draw a different chip, and the legendary goes back in. Marshall doesn't get to use legendaries. Them's the rules.
Them's the breaks.
Yep. Let's start the game.
Okay.
There's probably one more bookkeeping thing we need to do.
Oh, okay. What's that?
I am a weird scientist who has bought a new power.
Oh, you bought an extra card. Oh, goody.
I was
Sweet.
gonna say, are you playing Weird
Fabulous.
Science?
Would you go lie down, please, instead of
Yeah.
making so much noise? Come on, over here. Over here.
As great as it would be to not have this happen.
What the?
Now I gotta figure out what happened to my Marshall's handbook. Alright, yeah, I do roll. Well, why don't you roll D20?
All
Make
right.
you roll your own dementia here.
3.
Ooh. Delusion. The inventor's mind snaps, and she comes to believe something that is patently untrue. Is it patently or patently in this usage?
Patently.
Patently? Okay. So I was right. Maybe she thinks she's a werewolf, or the sky is blue because the moon people paint it that way every morning. This quirk reduces her charisma by 1.
Oh, man.
Oh, so you have -2 charisma too.
That's right. I'm delusional.
So wait,
And I
so
chew
hold on,
tobacco.
wait. The
Those were just examples. Those aren't things you just have to take, but it's something that...
the two
Oh, no.
foreigners have higher charisma.
Well,
The Mexican clown's going to be doing all the talking in his full clown regalia.
Well, neither of you took the outsider edge, so you don't have a penalty from that.
Right.
Well, I'm just saying.
Or hindrance, excuse me.
We're just. It's just a weird kind of like situation.
Yeah, that's great.
Well, it's like in Desolation at the beginning, where the mongrel warrior and the decrepit necromancer both had higher charisma than the rest of the normal party members.
It's just a weird I mean, it kind of makes sense for my guy. He's a gentleman, you know, something like that. So I can see it, but it's still like, really?
Yeah. I believe in the Mount Shasta aliens.
Oh, I've never heard of that.
Oh, they're. Just I'm trying to look up what they're actually
We'll have to
called.
incorporate them in Deadlands.
The
They're all
Lemurians.
The what?
The Lemurians. They live inside Mount Shasta.
Oh.
Yeah, that is my delusion. The Lemurians are
And this
real.
is something you
Although-
talk about a lot.
Oh,
where
yeah.
you get that -1 charisma from.
Yeah.
Moon people told
The
me
Lemurians,
that
like they are the ones doing everything. They're like the Lemurianati.
You know, that reminds me of something. So, going into this, everyone did their intros, describe their character and all that stuff. So everyone take a Benny.
I'm gonna have to learn about Lemurians now.
Watch, you're gonna actually become part of that.
Yeah.
You guys, I was doing some research for my character, and you won't believe what I found.
All right, so the Rogue Valley. It is August 1884. The farms and fields are rich and fat with the upcoming harvest. The vines are heavy. You know, lots of corn. You know, it's a very bountiful harvest. It's looking, everything's ripening. It's not quite time yet, but folks are looking forward to a year of plenty going into this winter.
In the Valley of Famine.
Yeah, that's like that's
Maybe some foreshadowing going on right now.
Wait for that shoe to drop.
Yeah, well, you might have to wait a couple sessions for the other shoe to drop.
Right now, everything's perfect.
Right now, everything is perfect. It's been a hard summer. It's hot, or it has been hot. It's only just starting to cool off. Not quite crazy fires like we've been having recently, because
we're cutting more of the trees down.
well, that was kind of one of the things about the Rogue Valley. Is it seems like no matter how many trees they cut down, whether it be for the railroad or for the sawmills in Ashland. I think at this point in time, Ashland is still Ashland Mills, actually. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I'm not really willing to do the research because I'm a bad person. But in spite of, regardless of how many trees people cut down, it just always seems like they almost spring up overnight. And so the valley is covered in thick forests, pine and whatever else you have local. Lots of Douglas firs, because that's the state tree. And so they crowd in close around even the settlements around Jacksonville and Medford and Ashland Mills, and it's kind of almost claustrophobic, really. Almost everywhere you look, you almost can't see the mountains because there's just fucking trees, and they glow. They glow. They do not glow.
Not yet.
That'd be pretty cool, right? Definitely the Lemurians.
They grow pretty close together, and so just going out into the forest, whether it be to hunt or to travel to the next town or whatever, you definitely got kind of like in Lord of the Rings when they're traveling through the old forest in the Fellowship of the Rings, and they're just like, fuck, we can feel the fucking malice from the goddamn trees as we're riding through this. Guys, we made a mistake. You get that kind of same impression, like you feel this ancient forest, like it's bearing down on you and watching, and it's creepy. And so people live their days kind of with this sort of sense on them, even in the towns where things have been clear cut a little bit and what have you. That reminds me of the fear level. So not that your characters know this, but the standard fear level for this area is fear level 2. Which means that on spirit rolls to resist fear and what have you, you're at a -2 because there's just this ongoing, unceasing sense of dread. Don't worry, I'll remind you. Okay. I just don't want y'all to be surprised when I say roll against fear, and it's going to be at -2, and you're just like, well, this thing isn't really all that scary. Why is it -2?
So that's including our base grit. It's -2.
Right. That's
okay.
For you, Nick. So grit you add as a positive number to fear rolls.
Okay.
It kind of measures just how jaded your character is, I guess, or not even jaded, but it's a measure. It's a measure of badassdom.
Yeah. Grit is that like for Western shows. It's
exactly.
That, I'm a badass.
Right.
You've seen some shit, and you could look at poop all day at that point.
Clint Eastwood level.
Yeah.
There's an edge you can take to call it
True grit. And then if you come back as Harrowed, which we'll worry about that when someone comes back as Harrowed, you get an extra point of grit, which is why Kane is pretty hardy against scary things.
Because he is a scary thing.
He is a scary thing. That is true, but he's the thing that the scary things are scared of, in theory, at least.
Not necessarily in practice.
But so it's people have been spending the summer. They've been working hard, tending the fields, tending the ranches, maintaining the railroad, backbreaking work. People are tired, tempers are short, and it is right into this scenario that a bit of relief to that daily toil comes, because the circus has come to town. Here we go. Mordecai Zamenhof's Imaginarium of Wonder and Terror comes rolling over the pass.
I'm just going to say the circus. I'm not going to remember that.
Mordecai's Circus. I remember that.
Imaginarium of Wonder and Terror. And Macario, I imagine this is the circus you've been traveling with.
Imaginarium of
Wonder and Terror.
I don't think Macario was specifically traveling with the circus. It's
Oh,
more
okay.
that he happened upon town when he saw that the circus was in town. He's excited because he's like,
Okay.
"This is something I can
Sure.
do.
All
I
right.
know this."
That's fine. That's fine. I
So
misunderstood.
Right.
Or maybe you've arrived ahead of town. You're maybe planning on moving on, and then people say the circus is in town. The circus is in town. Oh, goody!
Yeah.
Sure.
So a train of wagons of varying sizes. Some ginormous behemoths. Others more typical like prairie schooners, stuff like that, come rolling over the pass. It's quite an achievement in of itself, because, as we all know, the pass is no easy feat in a fucking car.
Yeah.
just thank God it's not winter and trying to make the passes.
Right, yeah. Well, there would be no circus if it was winter.
Not here.
There is no I-5.
There is no I-5 at this time. So the circus comes rolling into town, and they set up near Medford. Because at this point, Medford's slowly becoming the kind of center of the Rogue Valley. So it's not quite there yet. Jacksonville is still very much the seat of power, and that's where people go to. That's where the shops are and things like that. Medford's just the place where the train station is. And there's some basic shops there for people who are just passing through. Maybe they have to wait for the train to refuel and whatnot, so they get off and maybe buy a few trinkets and then get back on the train and leave.
Dumb question real quick.
Okay.
Did Medford just become Medford because it used to be Middleford? Like, was that name change just come into effect or something?
It probably should still be Milford, but I think for ease of memory, we're going to call it Medford.
Sounds good.
Alternate history.
But good point, because it was called Milford. Of course, the people in Jacksonville probably still call it Mud Pit.
Mud Pit?
Yeah.
Nice.
People in Ashland still call it Methford, even though
Medford's
invented yet.
People in Medford still call it Medford.
I live in Medford, I call it that.
Yep.
There are probably a few opium dens. What the fuck is that? I don't know. It's the whiskey. There's some opium dens in Middleford. plenty in Jacksonville, which actually historically had a pretty big Chinatown through the late 1800s, and then the mines played out, the railroad bypassed the town, and people left. That's the dogs, listeners. Just ignore it. There's no way I'm going to be able to edit that out.
It's definitely not a human kidney that Ben has fed to his dogs.
You're not supposed to tell people that, Austin.
All right. Anyway,
I trusted you.
I apologize. Let's get going here.
All right, let's get going. So, circus comes rolling into town. They set up outside of Medford, and they're getting ready for their first night. What are you guys doing?
So when Macario figures out the circus is in town, he very excitedly puts his hand over his heart, closes his eyes, and says a small prayer, and then rushes off to join it on his ugly, ugly, ugly horse.
All right. And when you say join it, are you looking to get in on the act, or you just kind of want to check it out, maybe the first night, and see what they got going on, and then offer your services later?
He's going to go straight up and join it because he feels like this is fate. This is where he's supposed to be.
All right. So you go walking up, you find the ringmaster. They get Mordecai Zamenhof himself. Mordecai Zamenhof, he's a tall, dark-skinned man, not of African descent. He's not black, but he's got kind of that I don't want to say swarthy because I'm pretty sure that is not a politically correct term, but dark olive-colored skin, basically of Turkish descent, looks like almost. I lost my place. Possibly of Turkish descent, with striking amber eyes and a full black beard. And he totally dresses the part of the ringmaster with a suit of rich blue and black coattails, and a big black top hat completes the costume. He's got a big, deep, booming voice. It sounds like he's, announcing even as he's just having an ordinary conversation.
Take your volume from 11 and crank it down a little bit, buddy.
He's got a deep voice.
All right. And can I kind of tell that he's the master here? Like, is he barking out orders?
Yeah, he's definitely not just the ringmaster, but he's the guy who owns the circus.
All right.
On theme.
So Macario's going to kind of step up to this guy and sort of politely wait until he turns around and just sort of wave at him once he catches his gaze.
It doesn't take long for that to happen. This guy's pretty alert. Like, he's directly, all right, I want the big top over here. I want the oddities wagons kind of over off to this side, and I want the freak show in between. You can put the boneyard back over there. It doesn't take long. He's alert. He sees you walk up, and he turns around. And he looks at you and kind of gives you looks at you with almost a Spock, cocked eyebrow, or it raises that eyebrow and says, "Yes."
So Macario kind of looks up at him. I'm assuming this guy's pretty tall, right?
Yeah, he's 6 foot something. He's pretty tall. He's not. He's like 6'3". He's not the tallest person in the world, but he's pretty tall, or at least he looks it.
Macario takes off his kind of little brown hat. It's got a little dirt on it. It's seen the trails of America, California, and he kind of holds it over his chest and gives a little bow, and he says, "Friend, Mr. Sir, I am looking for work. I just made to town, you see, and I would. I have skills, and I think that I would be perfect for your. What's the word?
Imaginarium?
Your Imaginarium. Yes.
Well, what kind of skill? I'm sorry. What did you introduce yourself to? If you did, he didn't forget, but Ben may have forgotten.
Before I show you, my name is Macario, and I am, wanting to build a life in this great country, you see. And so, yes, you mind if I show you on those poles over there? And he points at some wood stakes in the ground.
Please, by all means.
So what Macario does is he basically pulls out 2 ropes from his backpack, And he also pulls out a clown's wig.
Okay.
And some makeup, and he basically, quickly paints his face and kind of almost puts the clown wig on in a reverent manner, almost like he's wearing a crown.
Okay. Uh-huh.
And he kind of squares his shoulders, beefs his chest up, and looks like he's powerful and prepared. And he's got these 2 ropes in his arms. Mm-hmm. And then he starts swinging his arms around, and as the circus master's watching him, he swings these ropes, and then when he stops, he somehow tied them both in lassos.
Okay.
So he just somehow, with his hands, just did that.
Uh-huh.
And then with the 2 lassos, he kind of zones in on these wooden posts, and he flings one lasso, goes right around it, tightens it right at the top of the post, flings the other with the other arm. His arms are crossed, and he basically swings himself almost like a trapeze artist and lands on the other side, still gripping the ropes, then spins around in midair, swings back, and somehow detaches the ropes from the posts and actually jumps a really good distance, almost like past the circus master.
Okay. Cool.
So, is that your approval, sir?
Well, that was very impressive. That is definitely to my approval. Do you wish to perform with us for the show only, or do you want to travel with us? Because, quite frankly, I'm extending an invitation.
Well, travel, I do not know. I build a life, you see, in the valley, you see. And so I will work with you, and I will bring many money, dinero,
Of course.
But I do not know the soon to be the future.
Well, I expect we shall be here for a week. I will pay you $5, 5 dineros a night for a performance, and tonight we'll start you off outside the big tent, and we'll see how people react. But if people like your skills, like I do, that was very impressive. And we'll put you in the main show. I think that will go quite nicely, Macario. Do you have a performing name?
No, a payaso is what I am.
Okay.
So call me the payaso.
The Payaso. Very good. Pleasure to meet your acquaintance, Macario.
Yeah, Macario looks kind of shocked for a second that it went so well, and he's trying to think, how much is $5?
I think in the that day and age, $5 a day is probably pretty good, actually.
Okay.
The best I can give that from what I know, like $1 is enough to get you an in-stay for the day, 3 meals a day, and like a drink at the bar.
Okay, that's pretty good.
Yeah, it money was.
Yeah, he's not. He's definitely. My intention is that he is not shortchanging you. He's giving you a very, very fair wage.
Cool. Yeah, so Macario's happy to take that money and go try to find a place in town to stay.
All right. There's a couple of hotels. I haven't really named them. There's definitely like your generic Grand Hotel in Medford. That's even though it's advertised as a hotel, it's not much better than a hostel.
Is that the shittiest hotel in town? Because you would choose one that's cheap, for sure.
It basically is the shittiest hotel in town.
Okay, yeah.
Like if you wanted something better, you'd want to go over to Jacksonville, which is
maybe.
Yeah,
That's where I think Haru would live.
okay.
Yeah, I think Macario doesn't really know the value of what this man is giving him yet, so he's trying to like spend as little money as possible to figures it out.
Yeah, I think it gives prices for a cheap hotel in the book there.
$2.
$2. Yeah, you wouldn't want to stay in Ashland because basically Ashland's like a week's journey on wagon away. Because we don't have the I-5 or the 99, so there's a lot of trees in the way. It's not a direct route. Ashland's pretty isolated. Which presents a problem because you live in Ashland. We'll say you're in Medford. With,
I knew the circus was coming to town, so I'm probably looking for work there.
Okay, so you're there too, looking to cash in on.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like I said, I ran off and joined the circus. I've done this kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you probably saw those wagons coming over the pass initially. When someone was like, "Oh, look, there's someone." Oh, shit, circus wagons. And I know exactly where they're going. They're going to Medford.
Yeah.
That's central. So yeah, you're probably there too. That actually leads me to another question. So you don't know. You just arrived in the valley, so you don't know anyone else. But are the three of you familiar with each other at all?
I was thinking we would probably at least be familiar with each other because you've been in town for a while.
Yeah. I'm thinking that, at least in that regard, I may have had to bring some of my people in for breaking our rules to you and be like, detain them, arrest them, I do not care.
Right. Well, and since you have a code of honor and I have heroic, I feel like our values match at least pretty well for the most part. So I would imagine we get along
fairly well. He may be willing to do certain things that you wouldn't, and you may be willing to do certain things that he wouldn't.
Right. And I could see Rachel, needing a hand with something, and I know somebody I can depend on.
So maybe before this point, you've met each other, you've worked a little bit with each other, but you've never really worked closely. You've never had common cause to come together and work as a team per se.
Yeah.
But you definitely are familiar with each other.
Okay. Yeah, I know Haru is the local honorable.
Mm-hmm. Honorable gent.
Yeah. Good man.
Didn't you say you were traveling with Annie Oakley's circus or whatever?
Well, I did, but now I've settled in the
Well, we might have in the past.
Oh, okay.
Worked together on something like that.
Okay.
At least cross paths before.
Maybe you came over together with the same circus, because
Yeah,
Annie Oakley's Wild Bill's Western Circus or whatever, didn't necessarily come to the Rogue Valley. Mm-hmm. Maybe they did, historically speaking. I don't know, but at least as far as your journeys are considered, you eventually, the circus was going one direction. You wanted to go to the Rogue Valley, so you left and picked up with another circus.
Yeah.
Maybe you met Railin there.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, Wild Bill mostly went east, showing people Western acts.
Yeah.
There was definitely a difference between Eastern circus and Western circus back then.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I probably did a little bit of sharpshooting in the circus.
Sharpshooting, he's got the real gun.
No, that's not what I do in the circus.
I know, I was just like sharpshooting. Sharpshooting.
Now, does Railin do any actual acts, or is she more of I can help you build shit?
She's more, helps sets up tents, knows the rails real well, so she can, when it comes to packing things on the trains and off the trains.
Okay.
She does all that kind of stuff.
Well, say you've been offered...
She's a roadie.
$2 a day to help with the construction of the circus and whatnot. And you're already hired on. We can use the extra help, and that contraption of yours looks like it'll be really useful for getting these tents set up right quick. Rope, rope,
Train whistle every time. Awesome.
Yeah, that's a terrible imitation of the train.
Sounded more like a dog with something stuck in its throat.
All right, well, so that's going on. What about the two of you?
Haru has his pipe, and he's more of meandering with the circus as there's some of the smaller shows.
And this will be in the evening, really.
Bringing he's not in the big tent yet. He's more just wandering around watching some of the outside shows that are meant to bring people in. He's interested in the circuses. He's kind of like the Japanese no dramas and things like that.
Right.
He's a fascination, but he's not as into them as some of the American people are. It's not like clapping and wildly cheering. He's just puzzled, kind of a puzzled look on his face. Interesting. Puffs on his pipe. He's got his daisho on him at all times because he wants to keep it safe.
And people are kind of giving you a little bit of wide berth. The locals are probably accustomed at this point in time, but they're still just okay, this guy's got swords on him. Let's not get too close.
And that'd be about it. Just wandering.
Which is ironic because a lot of people have guns, and
Yeah,
they
yeah.
don't think twice about that. Oh shit, that guy's got a sword.
I mean, he also has his peacemaker clearly on his hip as well, on his right hip, where his swords are on his left, and he's just taking it in.
Okay. And there's acts out there. There's clowns and jugglers and things like that. And there's this guy who's doing some crazy ass tricks with ropes.
Yep. And as you pass him, he's basically taking one rope and has somehow tied it to the other rope to make it like an even longer rope that he's hooking around someone as like a joke.
Actually,
Okay.
I have a way of introducing myself then.
All right, let's do it.
Good evening, small one. You are very skilled in rope. I know many people who would be very interested in your skill back home for tying up convicts.
Convict. What is this?
Prisoner, I think, would be most appropriate term.
One who does crime?
Yes, that would be an appropriate assumption.
I am but a simple payaso, sir, and as you see, I am working. Perhaps we talk later.
I very much would like to speak with you on your skills with rope tying. It is a very interesting art.
It is no art, not like painting. You know, it's skill. I learned.
There's the separation of idioms again.
Yeah.
You misunderstand. When I say art, I mean display of skill.
Oh, Grass, thank you. It is good to hear.
You do not need to thank me for acknowledging one who has skill such as yours. Just accept that you are most efficient.
God damn it! Accept my compliment.
Yeah, he gives you one of his great smiles, and then kind of goes back to work, trying to work the crowd, make sure everybody's happy.
And there's maybe some other roadie who's pretending to just be another member of the crowd that you've already been made familiar with, and you're like pretending to rope and tie him like he's a calf.
Yeah, I hog tie him.
Yeah.
And I sit on him and all that kind of good clown hog tie stuff.
I can't remember the term, but it was, and he would have used it, but I can't remember. It's the Japanese rope tying techniques for actual martial art for tying people up and things like that. It's actually very interesting.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what he does. Only he learned it from being like a former vaquero, like a former cowboy.
Yeah.
That's really
Cool.
Yeah.
I like it.
He takes a puff on his pipe and bows his head to you before continuing on, just kind of looking around more, watching other people. But he kind of keeps an eye on you, like, very interesting. Because it would have been a martial art used by his people back home for prisoners.
Got it.
And Daisy, you're probably there as well. You're finished with your work, so you're able to like relax and enjoy the circus.
All right. Sitting there chewing some tobacco, spitting.
Yeah. And is Rachel there as well?
Yeah, I imagine kind of earlier in the day, Rachel met up with the Medford Marshal, and circus is in town. Probably gonna be a lot of drunks out, people getting rowdy, fights. So she's there on duty, just keeping the peace.
The Marshal, Markson's probably was like, listen, Rachel, you want to go to the circus, go on ahead. I mean, maybe check with Sheriff Ross first, but it's okay with me if you just want to go to the circus. And if you happen to see anyone getting up to any trouble, I won't mind if you bust them.
Alrighty, Ed. So yeah, she's also probably wandering around Gajon.
She knows us all.
Everybody's suspicious.
Um,
There's a guy with a sword. Swords or something.
She's basically just looking to make sure, like, she's enjoying the circus, but she's also kind of keeping an eye out, make sure, like, no one is.
You're probably seeing some guy who's had too much to drink starting to get rowdy and kind of give him a look like,
Yeah.
you better cut yourself off and calm the fuck down, or I'm going to do it for you.
You do the whole like leer at him, open up your car,
Right.
show the badge,
Really so.
Right.
and close it.
Yeah.
And she's like, ooh.
Oh, okay, I guess I'm not drinking any more whiskey tonight.
Yeah.
So the main show is $1 to see, and the other attractions, there's some carnival games, games of chance and skill, and whatnot. Those are a nickel. Entrance to the oddities wagons is the nickel. Same thing with the different freak show attractions, which I'm not 100% comfortable with that term, but that is the term that was used at the time, at least.
The odd people.
Yeah.
What
We
term
will
would
try to
you
be
use?
politically correct, but if we do not know the proper political correct term, we apologize.
Definitely, yeah.
But history happened. Historical terms will be used because that's what was used in the time as well. I mean, we'll try to be politically correct.
Yeah, we're going to try and avoid using anything that's
It's kind of
offensive.
It's kind of a weird
I'm
bubble.
not 100% sure if there's a better term for it. And in the
Side
sense of
attractions to come
sideshow.
along.
Yeah, we'll call it the
Yeah, the
sideshow.
sideshow.
There you go. That's
There you
better. I like that a lot better.
Yeah, that's a good way.
So yeah, there's it's a nickel for the different sideshows, and I'll let you know. Let's see what we got here as far as the sideshows go. So it's the usual things you expect from a sideshow. There's the Wolfman, the bearded woman, the savage magician, who's probably just some Native American from the the Sioux or something who just knows a couple of like card tricks and magic tricks and stuff like
A
that.
little far for Sewer, the Dakotas.
Oh, well.
I was just saying little. I mean, he could have come with them on the
Right.
The
Yeah.
choo-choo.
Tattoo.
Well, they didn't come on a train; they came on wagons.
Oh,
but-
wagons, whatever.
But yeah,
They come on a wagon train.
some Native American who knows a couple of magic tricks. That is advertised as the savage magician. Racism.
That was a good racism abounds.
Insert racism.
Yes. And at that time, that would have been an attraction.
Yes.
Instead of just like, this is a guy who happens to be Native American and knows magic tricks.
Every fifth person in Las Vegas, for example.
Right.
Because Rachel's wondering about didn't you see there were like the games?
Mm-hmm. There's a game of chance. There's definitely a shooting game.
I just want to narrate like she goes to the shooting game.
Okay.
Facing a goal, like.
Give me a shooting roll. They're handing you a pistol.
Okay.
Definitely, you're going to impress. But I just want to see like how
Are you
impressive
sure
you
definitely?
are. Yes. No. We're assuming character competency. Oh yeah, that's a success. So like, they hand you the pistol. All right, miss, go ahead and try your luck. Shoot the targets.
She'll kind of go, well, it's been a while since my days in the.
Got your guns on yourself.
But I think I'll do okay. And then she just like.
Oh, you're. Sorry. Are you
Yeah.
drawing your guns to shoot,
Well,
or
I'm
are you using
assuming-
the gun? The
Is
gun
it a
they
real
hand
gun
you?
that they shot back?
Yeah.
Then I'll draw my own guns totally and just shoot and like bullseye, like all the cans get knocked off.
Okay. Uh-huh. Yeah, you.
Kennedy. Yeah.
Oh, one of them.
I have bad news.
You have a descendant. A few of them, actually.
So she'll just like right down the line.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it's really impressive when the man kind of hands you your cigar.
Nice.
And says, well, so you used to work at circus. What circus did you work?
Wild Bills.
There's definitely like this long, like wide-eyed, like, oh.
Yeah, and then she'll just.
Imagine, if you will, his chin touching his toes.
Yeah. jaw drops like,
I should charge you extra.
But you walk away leaving him wondering like, wait, was that fucking Annie Oakley?
Was I cheated?
I'll like stick the cigar into my vest.
Okay.
Games are rigged and she still won.
Yeah. Damn it. Because she used her own gun.
Mm-hmm. You don't have to worry about ammunition for that. It's cool.
They put it on the table next to the gun they provide, but you just grab the ammo. And
Yeah, totally.
Like, wait a minute, put on my shades first.
At night.
At night.
You're
I wear my sunglasses at night.
You're doing your tricks. People are loving it. I'm gonna steal
D6?
not a D6. I want a D10. There's a D10. A couple of people tip you. Oh shit, that's crooked. $3.
All right.
Because they're impressed with your rope tricks. They like them. Maybe one or two people, they're kind of drunk. They don't react too well to getting roped, but they're everyone else kind of gets them to calm the fuck down.
Yeah.
And be like, hey, relax. It's a circus. What do you expect? And it was really cool.
And if somebody gets pissed off, he basically has a little pack near him, and he'll toss them like a little handkerchief that he's folded into a bow.
Okay.
So he just has like a lot of these little colorful things.
Cool. I like it. That's awesome. Any specific attractions that you want to go check out there, Railin?
Not really. I mean, I'm just going to be hanging out with probably the rest of the carnies and roadies. And
Okay. Any specific attractions you want to go to?
I'm thinking actually he went to the main tent. And
Okay.
He may have even paid an extra $1 to kind of get like a really good seat.
Okay. Yeah, you got a front row seat then.
Yeah.
Okay, so $2. Is anyone else going to the main show?
Yeah, I'll make my way over there after the kind
Okay.
of meandering the game.
Yeah, for $1 you can get a seat in there. For $2 you can get a front row seat.
He's kind of used to it.
You can get in.
yeah, I was
for
going to
free.
say, I'll get into the main show
Yeah,
at that point.
He's kind of used to the high life and certain.
I think
things
I'll be
that comes
like
with it.
warming up the crowd as they're either entering or maybe once they're seated and they're waiting or something.
Yeah.
Those two.
And then one of maybe the roadies or the other clowns, once they're like getting people ushered in, he'll grab you by the shoulder, like, hey, come on, you got to see this.
All right.
Rachel will just pay $1, but maybe she'll see Haru and just kind of give him like a nod, like, oh, like, hello.
He nods. He's got his pipe still in his hand, and if you're close enough, he may converse. I don't know.
No,
Sure,
well,
sure, if you
I'm-
want to.
I was big tents, they're kind of big, so I was just kind of.
Oh, I was thinking like she just kind of sees you in passing because I didn't pay extra to get a good seat. I'm just
Okay.
Well, you could have passed him.
You could have passed right in front.
Okay.
There's if you guys want to role play, there's an opportunity to role play for sure.
Greetings, Miss Kennedy.
Howdy, Haru. How are you this evening?
I am most excellent. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. In fact, I just won a cigar.
For your skills in shooting, I presume.
Indeed.
I presume that also the man you, showed up your skill for was most displeased that he could not have made more money from you attempting again.
To be honest, I'm not sure he would have let me.
You are more than likely most accurate. These circus folk tend to be very wily with their games and parlor tricks.
How loudly do you say that?
Huh?
Well, you know what? Never mind. It's pretty noisy. There's people shuffling around, so never mind.
He would have said it as delicately as possible, of course.
Right.
But
Well, and you say it conversationally, so I don't think anyone could really get that out of all the clamor.
Rachel will kind of have this like knowing smile on her face and she's like, yeah, we are.
it is a pleasure to see you again, Miss Kennedy. I hope that our paths cross again in a more very favorable. The whiskey.
Dun dun dun.
Rachel will tip her hat to you and be like, I hope you enjoy the show.
Okay.
And as you as well, Miss Kennedy.
So you see a lot of the usual acts that come with a circus, the trapeze artists and the athletes and the jugglers and what have you, the various wild animals and the lion tamers and so on and so forth.
Chair and a whip.
Yeah, exactly. And then they bring out one gentleman, Vadim, the Invincible. This big, huge Russian guy. If you thought that Mordecai was tall, this guy is a giant. Mm-hmm. He's big and he's brawny and he performs a bunch of feats of strength for you, lifting various heavy things. And Mordecai invites people, come try and lift these weights for yourselves and see how you compare versus Vadim the Invincible.
Boost trade would have been great.
Does anyone want to have a go at that?
Sure. I feel like just I want to more as a not so much that he thinks that he can beat Vadim or even lift the weights, but more as a I want to see just how heavy they are.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so strength check.
Yeah, strength check. And so don't forget you get your wild die to go with that.
Which is D6.
It's another D6, so you take the higher of the two.
I've got. I play
Yeah.
Shadowrun on those.
Okay.
Ooh, blow that up, and blow that 6 up.
Blow it up
that's
again.
it.
Oh boy.
Oh
Gosh.
shit.
17.
So you're a superhuman.
Yeah. So at first you're straining,
just slightly
you're
short.
straining against these huge weights, and you're a samurai, and you're also a chi master. So you kind of you pause and you center your stance and you center your spirit, and you pull up on it again. You feel something kind of tug and then snap a little bit. And then all of a sudden you're able to just lift the weights up over your head, and the whole audience is whoa. And
Shut up, Vadim.
and you see, you kind of notice Mordecai just fuck. And you look down, you can see there's some latches maybe that were hooked into those weights that are now snapped because you broke those. And you see Vadim just going,
He, after bringing the weights back down, he sets them down.
Mm-hmm.
The weights down. He bows and he goes, "These are indeed very heavy. I wish you the best of luck, Mr. Vadim." And he heads back to the.
They were not. I mean, they were. They were heavy, but they were not.
No, he was being more. It was more of just a. I don't want to
Spoil the show
for everybody
Okay.
else kind of thing. So he's like.
So you
I
give
think that would
I'm
spoil the
just thinking
show.
of
Super big Russian guy, little Japanese guy.
Right.
I'm like 5'6", 5'8", you know, just whoop. Huh.
So you bow, and out of the corner you see Mordecai just kind of give a small sigh of relief, and Vadim kind of comes lumbering towards you and stands, and he doesn't do quite the same manner of bow, but definitely does a sort of and then he reaches over and one hand lifts the weights up over his head and performs the crowd.
I offer a hand and see how see how much stronger I had to use both my hands, using in one kind of thing. Because I am enough of a local to be people need this.
Yeah. And he kind of claps you over the shoulder you are very strong. You're not as strong as Vadim, but no one is strong as Vadim. But you are close second, very very close second.
I will accept that compliment.
Good.
Thank you. a quiet nod of "You're welcome" before heading back towards his particular seat.
Mm-hmm. Shortly after they finish the kind of the exhibition of strength, Mordecai is and now, for those who are brave enough, Vadim will accept challengers for bare-knuckle brawling. Who's brave enough to take the invincible Vadim on hand to hand?
I've already done my part. I feel like I've already tried my luck with Vadim right now. If I get in this fist fight, I'm going to get the shit.
So a couple of guys taking on. Bets are encouraged. Does anyone want to bet on this? For or against the demon?
You know, I'll put $1 towards Vadim, like in favor of.
Okay. You easily make your dollar back.
Okay.
So you gain $2. We'll say
$2. Woohoo! I made my money back from
Nice.
the show.
the show. Yeah.
Yeah, there's some brawling that goes on, but Vadim, of course, wins every round. And give me a fighting roll.
Fighting roll.
Yeah.
So I roll my fighting.
And your wild die and take the higher of the two. 8, very nice. Oh, we'll blow up that 6.
Where's your bathroom?
Whoa.
Upstairs.
3 6s in a row, by the way.
Okay.
Nice. That
You're a
die is
monster.
hot.
Okay, and then a 4. So 18,
So
22.
you're easily able to tell that these are not staged fights. This is real honest, brawling. Like he's not killing anyone,
It's
but
pugilism.
Yeah.
The precursor to boxing.
yeah, exactly.
Okay.
I don't know if it's I think boxing is a thing, but this isn't quite boxing.
It's pugilism.
This is just fighting. Yeah, pugilism. So, but it's not rigged. No one's throwing a fight. It's honest brawling.
Very interesting. He kind of says to himself, just very interesting. This Vadim is a very impressive man. Glad I put my money towards him.
Yeah. And we'll just wait for Ed to get back and we'll move on to this next point. And all right. So we took a break there. The brawling comes to an end. Vadim disappears from the tent, and they reduce the lanterns down so it gets darker in the tent, and the drums play. And Mordecai gets up there and says, "And now, ladies and gentlemen, steel your resolve and prepare yourselves. Those of you who are weak of constitution and will, I advise to leave the tent right now, because our next feature, we present to you the Scourge of the Dark Continent. Yes, all the way from Africa, we bring you the terrifying, the voracious Siafu." And you see a bunch of men, a bunch of guys dressed up as clowns come out onto the stage, and they gather around the ring, and they're all armed with what looks like flamethrowers.
Whoa.
And you see another 10 more men dressed like clowns solemnly marching onto the stage with this massive, you can only really describe it as a lead-bound sarcophagus. This thing is huge, and it's got straps and bolts and all sorts of just excessive mechanisms to keep it locked and sealed. And they place it down the middle of the stage, and they attach hooks and cables to the lid, and they get way the fuck away, and the guys with the flamethrowers start kind of spouting them off in a sort of theatric.
The pyrotechnics of his age.
Yes.
Haru just leans forward, inquisitively. He's slightly uncomfortable with the situation. Like this is definitely something different than before. So he's watching carefully.
Yeah, and I'm going to require a roll if anyone in character knows what Siafu are at this point.
I don't think Rachel
because
does.
you've probably never heard of these. I can't imagine your characters would ever have had any circumstance to know what Siafu are. You might know out of character.
I have not a clue.
Really?
Out of character, not a clue.
This makes me so happy. Because it's so...
Sounds like something I've heard of.
Oh, really? Oh, I'm going to surprise you all. Yes!
I don't know.
Sounds familiar.
Listeners, don't
but no.
spoil anything. I don't know how you would.
Wait a minute.
So the drums are going,
Yeah, Rachel's also leaning forward,
and the flames are going. And Mordecai goes, brace yourselves, A's. Behold the monstrosity, the swarm, the Siafu! And the guys pull hard on the lid, and the sarcophagus tilts forward, the lid comes flying open, and this massive horde of these huge ants comes pouring out of the box, and they cover the whole of the ring, and the only thing keeping them back from the audience, and you can feel the seething hunger coming off these things. These things just want nothing more than to devour all life, and you can feel it. They come seething forward, and the only thing that keeps them away from the audience are the flames of the clowns armed with the flamethrowers. They, when you can see they're cooking off swaths of these ants, and yet still they make no dent in the swarm. There's millions of these things as they crawl and skitter about the ring. And then you hear the panicked cry of a calf, and from one end of the fucking words failed me. The tent, you see men driving a calf forward, a cow, and it goes bolting into the ring, into the midst of these things, and they just envelop the calf, and you hear its cries, and they strip it to the chorus of the audience's screams of horror. Holy shit. They strip this thing in seconds down to the bones, and then they consume even those, and there's nothing left of the calf.
When you say it's a bigger ant,
like an inch, 2 inches long.
Okay.
And that's just like the workers.
I think that as Macario sees this happen, he drops his rope and is just horrified at the cruelty of what he's just seen people do to this animal.
Yeah, there's a little bit of that, from Haru. Just like he has his pipe up to his lips and his mouth is open, so it's not going
Yes. And then they let the ants they surge. They try to make, and it's definitely a concentrated attack as they try to break past the flamethrowers to get at the audience, and they surge forward, and there's a belch of flames, and they fall back, and you can see the burnt, crisp bodies of the ants. They got too close, and eventually, after a minute or two of this, as they demonstrate, behold, it's the terror, the voracious appetite, blah 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 blah, and eventually they drive them back into the sarcophagus with a flamethrower, and they probably killed 25, maybe more percent of these ants. Killed a bunch of them just with the flamethrowers alone as they drive them back into the sarcophagus, and they let the lid that's been held back with the cables just drop closed with a heavy booming thud. And then you see some of while the flamethrower armed clowns kind of keep a ready eye. And this is not like an act. They're ready to just burn these things to a crisp in case they somehow come surging back out. And others rush forward and quickly, latch it close, and they heave it up and remove it from the circus ring. And listeners, for those who don't know, Siafu are a real thing. They're native to Africa. As a specific mountain, really, and they're ants that prey on humans. Literally, they'll go out in their forages, and they won't think twice about stripping a human down to the bones and carting off the meat.
Now that the description's out, I remember them now. My wife and I watch a lot of top 10 videos and top 10 deadliest. Top 10 deadliest invertebrates. Boom, number 5.
Yep. Those are the Siafu. And it really pleases me that no one had really heard of them, and that the description was hopefully as terrifying as I imagined it to be.
Really great scenes, I think.
Fantastic. I
think it
I
was
win.
terrifying and also morally reprehensible.
All right. Perfect.
Yeah, technically Haru's Buddhist, so nature, ants needing to feed, but the disturbing level of just feeding this cow to it. So messed up.
Yeah, I think the fact that it's like a spectator sport of seeing this calf suffer in this.
And keep in mind, animal rights aren't really a thing in this day and age.
Daisy's more concerned about like what happens if some of those little ants get out.
Yeah, Rachel was thinking.
It's like some ant colonies.
Well, and you definitely got the feeling of like they were taking security very seriously.
Yeah.
They were not stinting on the number of guys. You know, these were guys dressed up like clowns. They definitely were not clowns.
They were the clown makeup and attire was mainly there to try to help us maintain a level of composure. Because if they were wearing what they should have been wearing, we would have just freaked out entirely.
Right. These guys are definitely mercenaries, very highly trained with the use of the flamethrower, and very well experienced in basically wrangling Siafu.
Wrangling.
And this is Deadlands, so there's maybe a little more weird going on with these Siafu. They're maybe more of a malevolent mind controlling them to swarm against humans and whatnot. But your characters don't necessarily know that.
No, we're
Just
blissfully ignorant.
yeah, but just
I mean, less so now.
Siafu are not necessarily that well
All right,
coordinated.
everybody, metagame it, but don't tell Ben.
Yeah. All right. So there's not really any other particular show in the main show that stands out. It's more of the usual circus fare. You see maybe one other one that stands out, and I relate this from real life experience, having seen this at a circus. But you see like some ladies performing various athletic displays, and at one point, like she gets up on this
Like that?
yes,
Just
like that. It does involve a dog, in
Okay.
fact. But it's this little dog, like a miniature poodle sort of thing, and this lady bounces upside down on
no.
one arm on the dog's head.
Wow.
And you see the dog just kind of like hunker down with with his neck and stuff so it can take the weight, and it's actually like legit pretty impressive between the dog and the lady. I saw that once at an actual circus. It was pretty cool because I was a little kid when I saw it, and it still stands out to this day. That poor little dog. But anyway, yeah. So the night continues on, and about really the only remaining major attraction to go check out would be the oddities wagons. Hey, Finn, knock it off. Anyone intrigued by those? After having seen the Siafu of the main show.
That's pretty odd.
Yeah.
I think Haru needs some air after seeing that. Like he goes outside and he's going to be a little apprehensive about ants in the future.
Yeah. I think Rachel has a new phobia.
That's what should do
Phobia.
to that level. But he might see like an ant, like a line of ants, and be like, no.
I think Macario's jobs, his work for the night is kind of winding down, and so he's going to
You're,
start.
at this point, you're free to go check out the circus.
Yeah, so he kind of takes off his gear and sort of wipes the paint off his face, and he has a very concerned look on his face. Like what he just saw, it makes him concerned. And so he's going to go kind of like talk with some of the other people at the circus and kind of see like, is this a typical thing where like,
Yeah,
these horrible, dangerous animals?
We've gotten used to it a little bit. It always puts everyone on edge. We keep that thing under guard. We don't let them. Feeding time sucks. Let's just say, but yeah, we don't fool around with the Siafu exhibit. That's not a game.
And the food, what do you the food? What do you feed them?
Animals, usually whatever we can buy from the local farms.
Always like that? With the live animal?
Not always.
They prefer it when it's squirming.
It's usually easier when you can make it run into them than having to get close enough to throw it into their midst.
No, I'm thoroughly convinced that it's not a them. It's a natural disaster at that point. It's a that.
Yeah. So Macario's thinking like, well, maybe I can have a talk with the circus master and convince him to maybe just throw meat next time rather than like tossing a live animal in. And so he's going to go try to have that conversation.
All right, you're not able to find Mordecai to talk to at this point. He's still really busy, just kind of running the circus, making sure everything's going smooth. So maybe tomorrow morning you'll be able to find him to talk to.
After the show, he's counting all his money.
Yeah,
yeah.
Well, the circus isn't closed just yet.
I know.
Like the,
Well, that's what I'm
the
saying.
show.
After all that, before going to bed, kind of a little scale out.
So instead, I think I'll search for Haru and see if I can, because he said he wanted to talk with me.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Just walking out in the air. So.
Sure, he's pretty easy to find. He's the only guy walking around with swords.
You are the gentleman, right? That you complimented me. He's not wearing his makeup now, but for his clown hood. But
he gives you a kind of a praising look to see if he can if he recognizes you without your clown makeup and stuff like that. And I'm assuming no roll needed or anything.
No.
He nods and he says, "I was just mostly interested in where you learned your art. It's a very interesting to see. There are many people back in my homeland that implement such a skill for arresting wrongdoers."
The criminals. I've not done that sort of work with these. And he pulls out a rope and just quickly ties it into a loop, and you see he's got another lariat, and he starts kind of swinging around absentmindedly in his hand. But you see, I grew up one of these in my hands, and I use it every year of my life. Since a boy I was. And so you use something so much, it becomes almost like an extension of yourself. And he tosses it out, and like just this perfect, beautiful thing where it just hits the ground, and he kind of sweeps it back in right away. Just kind of showing off without trying to show off.
Nice.
Most certainly understand practicing with something your entire life. He just moves his hands to his swords. I was given these to me when I was a young boy. And, they have never left my side. They are as much a part of me as my ears or my eyes, my hands, my feet.
Are you a man of violence, of killing?
If the situation calls for it.
It is my thought that situation not call for it most of the time. There are many options. And I was wondering, since you are a guest, audience, what did you think of show tonight, the cow, the ants?
It is the nature of such a swarm to eat their food in such a manner. And it is nature of cow to flee those who provoke it. But when directed by human intervention, it adds an unknown element, disrupt balance of nature.
Yes, the nature, the balance, and the men.
I would not wish that this swarm not of this land to be released upon these people, for I fear it cause he pauses a moment trying to think of the word, because I'm also trying to think of the word myself.
Fair enough.
Great
This is like
whole
two people that aren't English speakers
Yeah.
trying to speak English to each other from different cultures.
Cause unrepairable damage to this bountiful area.
So it seemed to me that though you kill a man, you also know the value of the world. And so I would know you better, sir.
I would be most appreciative of your further conversation.
And he kind of gives you a kind of an awkward pat on the back, and I guess we would walk off at that point.
He lifts a hand as kind of just an indication of not used to being touched by people.
Okay.
Physical contact is not common to him, so he's just like a simple handshake. I think is what the Westerners do in this circumstance.
He gives you one.
He, as he does, he grabs your hand, but he also adds a kind of a bow to it. And he, when he writes himself, I am pleased to see that not like some of the other people, you find it as offsetting or off-putting this act of bringing something from foreign place for violence.
To be fair, that's the Yahoo exhibit. It was probably 99% of those people were offset.
Yes, I can imagine.
The baby's crying in the audience.
Fire. I think, I only agree what is in what is in everything's nature. My nature happens to be the art of war. Yours is the art of entertainment. It is different, but it is the same.
But I am an entertainer, but I am not here to entertain. And he kind of says that in a cryptic way, but it doesn't clarify.
Mm-hmm.
You say a wisdom that you may not even be aware of yourself. I would very much like to continue conversation, perhaps later.
I must get back. My hotel room sleep. More work tomorrow.
I understand. I too have work I must do.
Okay.
All right, so I want to give you guys bennies for that. That was great. And then the names. Rachel, Railin, are either of you interested in checking out the oddities wagons? So we're going to move. If not, we're going to move forward.
Not really, unless it's like technological oddity.
You have no idea. Could be.
I might go look then if that's the case. That might be.
Okay.
I was gonna say Rachel, probably not, but if you want to like have a chance to roleplay like a scene together, then
Sure.
I would say sure she'll head over to the is it the sideshow?
The oddities.
Oh, okay.
So I'm going to go over what you find in the oddities, and then we can role play out a scene.
Apologize to do this. Where's your restroom at?
Upstairs. So here is what you find in the oddities wagon. It's a series of wagons kind of chained together, some bigger than others. But featured within is an Aztec mummy.
Not Incan.
Was advertised as a blood rose dried and contained in a glass case.
Mm.
You also see an intricate and very lifelike monkey doll with like symbols and everything. That just looking at it, you can swear it's a fucking real monkey, but it's just sitting there all stationary and stuff.
So far, so very glad I didn't go see that.
You see a deck of cards alleged to have belonged to none other than Wild Bill himself.
Oh, interesting.
Before he was shot down. Is it Wild Bill or Buffalo Bill?
Buffalo Bill.
Buffalo Bill.
Yeah. Buffalo Bill did the circus.
Oh, is it?
Wait, which?
Yeah, because
Buffalo Bill did the circus, Wild Bill, Hickok.
Okay, yeah, it's Wild Bill Hickok. Buffalo Bill did the circus.
Okay,
So there we go.
Too many fucking Wild West Bills.
William was a common name.
Yeah, I know. So yeah, you see a deck of cards alleged to have belonged to Wild Bill, and you see the dead man's hand laid out, bloodstained and all. So, who knows? You see a tattered, bloodstained uniform, said to be from none other than the Black Regiment, whatever that is. You don't know. Maybe. Does anyone have knowledge occult?
No.
Knowledge law.
Knowledge law is not going to help you on this. You also see an obsidian black skull belonging to the skull of the scourge of God, the destroyer of the Holy Roman Empire. The skull tainted black with his vile soul. The skull of Attila the Hun. You also see a hand in a box labeled as the hand that would not die.
Still alive.
And you see it looks like it's shackled down, and every now and then as people look too close, it goes shakes and strains against its bonds. Doesn't make any sounds because it's a hand, not a voice.
What?
It doesn't go like this and mimic a voice?
Maybe at one point. No, it doesn't do anything like that. You also see a pen that contains the fearsome Javarna, said to be a carnivorous, bloodthirsty wild pig from the southwest. Go ahead and give me.
I know. I'm starting to think of like.
Yeah.
What?
Oh yeah. Give me a common knowledge roll.
Common knowledge. Oh, I got 2 2s.
You're convinced it's a fucking Javarna.
Yeah.
6.
Yeah. 8. You've seen. Not you. You're not in there.
Oh, that's right. I just heard
You've seen pigs before. This just looks like a really ill-tempered but tame boar
I was
dressed
gonna
up
say,
like a
Rachel's
Javanah.
kind of going through all this with like a real, just like skeptical look on her face.
On the hand, give me notice rolls. -2. And I got a 2. It's totally a fucking animate hand.
Yeah, I got
Wow.
11 on that.
You got 11. This is totally someone's hand just stuck up through a box, and there's someone sitting underneath the case.
Right. That's what I was thinking. Yeah, Rachel.
You've
like
seen these tricks before.
Right.
As Haru said before, parlor tricks.
She's just kind of grumbling to herself.
But
Can't
it's
believe
really it's really well done, and maybe like Riley, because you are familiar with the circus, like maybe at first look like holy shit, that really is a disembodied animate hand, and then you kind of like, oh wait, I've seen this trick before. Okay, you're not fooled. Probably the same thing with the jab.
I would have done it with some kind of ghost rock current.
There you go. Yeah.
The chef's aliens involved.
There's also a tank that's just contains some really big scorpions in there, like emperor scorpions or something. I don't know what, some sort of really large scorpion that's native to America. Nothing really weird there. They're just big scorpions, kind of. For the uninitiated, the uneducated, they're freaky as shit. And maybe for anyone who's arachnophobic, they're also really fucking freaky as shit.
Yeah.
Benjamin pins out there.
Yeah. Oddly enough, I'm not all that freaked out by scorpions. Spiders, on the hand, fuck those. There's also another pen that contains an impressively large mountain lion. This is even fucking big.
Does the pen look sturdy enough to contain
Oh,
the
yeah.
mountain?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So you don't have to worry about like mountain lion breaking loose.
I mean, these guys have managed to keep and maintain a sarcophagus full of Siafu ants.
Okay,
Yeah.
sure. Mountain lions, no big deal.
So they're probably pretty good about taking security seriously. And this mountain lion, for all that it like occasionally just snarls and paws irritably at its pen, it's pretty tame looking. Like it's probably just not accustomed, despite the number of shows it's probably been in. it's infrequent enough for it that it's just like, oh god, people, fuck off, please. One thing you see that kind of not nearly as disturbing as the Siafu, but you see what's advertised as the stuffed remains of a chupacabra, and it is pretty convincing. Like you're trying to see where like they maybe stitched a bunch of animal parts together or had a mock-up made, and you're not seeing anything that would indicate that this is a fake. Also on the disturbing side, you see a fish tank, a big, huge fish tank, and it contains what's called nibblers, and they're like these large, not giant, but they're about piranha size. They look like piranhas, but their mouths are just filled with these oversized fangs, like, to the point they can't even close their own jaws without cutting themselves, and they're vicious and voracious, as the person who's kind of standing by the tank tells you. And if you come back after hours, they're, for a bit, a person, they'll show a feeding of the nibblers.
That wasn't a nibble.
There's also a cage with what is called a corn stalker, and this is pretty freaky because this thing's got like almost a humanoid body, but it's got a what looks like a pumpkin, a gourd for a head, and these glowing red eyes, and leafy green corn leaves that it's got wrapped around its part, and it's looking at you kind of malignantly. It's a wicked corn stalker that sows murder in its wake if it were to get loose. Or so the person says, standing by.
Can I roll to see this is like someone in a costume?
Sure, roll me notice. +2.
4?
It's definitely not a person in a costume.
Okay.
It's too small, too thin, too slender. And last but not least, something you see in there. In the last wagon, it's a big wagon, and it's kind of like you walk in, and there's a central tank, and there's like a walkway that you walk around to see, and in the center is a rattler, a big like sandworm. Think Dune, for those of you who are not familiar with the Deadlands setting, and it's got a bunch of like tentacles that come out of its jaw.
Like a graboid.
Yeah, like a graboid. Yeah, very much. And it's a good 6 feet long, and it slithers around in a bed of sand, and it tries to rear up and kind of grab at people up in the walkway. The walkway is just too high up.
That would be, 6 flavors of uncomfortable.
It's not that big of a snake, really.
Yeah, I mean it's 6 feet long, but it's also like about as wide as this table.
Oh.
So,
Wow. It's almost it's the size of this table.
Almost.
yeah, maybe
Not
even a
really
little
snake-like.
bit longer.
Okay.
So it's not
like here.
yeah.
If you go to the end of the table.
Yeah, something like that. Close enough. It's long enough to be a little disconcerting. Again, not quite on the scale of the Siafu, but then again, you haven't seen this thing feed on a calf in front of your very eyes in like 5 seconds.
That's true.
But yeah, that is the oddity show, and you're free to kind of roam back and forth between the wagons. So if you want to have a scene, now's a good time for that.
Well.
If not, no problem.
Well, so we already know each other. That's true. So.
Yeah.
I might, like, as I'm walking through, I might catch her eye and just be like, "Oh, Railin Daisy.
Deputy?
Should have known I might run into you here. Enjoying the
Circus
show?
is in town. Of course I'll be here.
Yeah.
It was an interesting show. I mean, don't see that every day, do you?
No, indeed.
Not regular kind of entertainment.
That's for sure.
I mean, what do they do when those bugs get loose?
I don't think about that, Railin. I surely don't. You work him. How do I say this? Not hitched a job, but you signed on with this.
Just while they're in town.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to help her finish her sentence.
Yeah.
This here circus.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Sign on with the circus.
No, just while they're in town. Get some extra money.
Do you have like family in town? Oh, well, your dad, right?
Yeah. My dad's gone.
Yeah, I'll be like, any word of your...
I haven't heard from him. I'm going to try to find him back someday. I just don't know where to start.
It's real odd what happened.
Just got a letter saying that someone took him from the railroad and said that he's gone, and yeah, was kidnapped. Because,
Well,
Was there a ransom letter left, or just someone just abducted him with a permanent intention?
There's what my story is, and there's what I don't know really half. Like I kind of consider, like Shadowrunner's corporate espionage. He's a scientist, and someone kidnapped him.
Okay.
To make him do science for them.
Interesting.
And I don't know who, but
gears are turning.
Yeah, he's been kidnapped, and I don't really know why.
Okay.
I pretty much just found out not too long ago.
Okay.
oh, is this something recent?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Like, I'd run off and join the circus, and then, settled into Rogue Valley, and it's not like I totally ran off, like, oh, you'll never see me again.
Right.
Yeah.
It was like, you know what?
So,
I want to go
happened,
be a circus person.
Someone from the Denver Pacific, sent me word about it, and now I want to find my daddy.
So Rachel said, this recent... Sorry, I'm just tired all of a sudden. If I hear anything about your father, I'll let you know right away.
Oh, good.
You take care of Daisy.
Later, Deputy Rachel. I don't really call you Deputy Kennedy here.
Yeah. Or, I feel like we're probably friends since we travel.
Your foot's shaky. I said
So-
shaky. It's like...
Rachel probably would be...
Alrighty. So I imagine you're free to wander back and forth between the different wagons. The Rattler wagon, they're kind of getting people to go through, keep moving. Don't want to agitate the Rattler too much, lest it get pissed off more than usual. So you guys have probably wandered back to one of the other oddity wagons. I'll give you guys a Benny for that. We're getting pretty close in the session.
Woohoo! Here's the blue.
Nice.
You better give us some hard rolls here so we can spend them.
Oh, there's something coming because you guys are talking. You guys are standing. You're outside. You're nearby the circus. You haven't quite left yet.
It's kind of happening at the same time, kind of thing.
Yeah. It's,
I turned to leave, and
you turn to leave, and all of a sudden you hear someone shout, "Oh Lord! The Rattler's getting loose!" Oh, that sounds so fucking terrible.
Oh Lord, he's coming!
So much regret. Oh God.
he was actually calling a friend of his called Laud.
Laud, get the guns!
Laud, get the guns!
So we get over here. The Rattler's getting loose. It's getting loose, and you hear a terrible wrenching sound, like the wood snapping and breaking, and people are screaming.
Oh,
and we're gonna you guys that are outside, you turn around and you see the big wagon kind of tilt, like one of the wheels just an axle broke and tipped over, and the side wrenches open, and sand comes pouring out, and this Rattler comes slithering out. And you guys could run out of one of the oddity wagons that you were in. Give me notice rolls at -4. You two who are in the oddity wagon.
Those two who are in the oddity wagon.
Oh boy.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay, good, because I only got a 4.
Good.
Like a
6.
Oh my
net
gosh.
0.
So 12, 5, 17.
Okay, yeah. So
Take it I noticed.
you notice. So you guys are standing there talking. You hear the sounds. You you go around to the entrance or the exit of the wagon, take whichever, and you see the rattler getting loose and starting to slither out amongst people are running left and right and everywhere. And out of the corner of your eye, you see someone who kind of been loitering around in this particular wagon. This is the wagon where the skull of Attila was. And everyone's attention turns around. You see out of the corner eye that he reaches, he grabs that skull from the case and he books it.
Oh, yeah. Oh.
Protected serve, stop a criminal.
Yeah, and the thing is, Rachel's heroic, so people are like in immediate danger.
Yeah.
People are definitely in
I
immediate
feel like she's
danger.
got to rush to save them. She'll go after. My nose was 17, and can I see my God could look at his face?
Yeah,
If
definitely.
I see him again.
Definitely.
Well, I didn't see
You
him,
recognize
so-
this guy
Oh, yeah.
easy
Oh, yeah.
if you saw him again.
So I'm gonna run towards where people are.
All right.
Be like, move! Get out of the way! Get out of the way!
Get the fuck out of the way!
Yeah, we got work to do,
Danger
Rachel.
Rachel. He's
Yeah.
rushing towards it.
All right.
I spin around and I see this rattlesnake escaping and I get my lasso ready.
That's not a rattlesnake. It's a
rattler.
Super girl.
looks like that.
Oh my God!
Oh gosh. Okay, that's not a rattlesnake.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a graboid meets a sarlacc. The sarlacc from Star Wars.
Or Shai Halud. For those who know Dune.
I know, dude. Too.
Yeah,
Okay.
no,
It's like a amalgamation. There we
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
It's a big worm with lots of appendages.
Yes. So we're gonna dish out the initiative cards here. We're getting to combat at dark 30 in this session.
Well,
Um,
that's Friday night.
We got to end on an exciting note, right?
Right.
So here we go. You guys are scattered a little bit. You're in a couple of different places, but you can definitely react because this thing gets loose, burrows into the ground. You see odds, male, even female, some woman who's running, and this thing pops up on the ground beneath her, grabs her in its tentacles, and just swallows her whole.
Oh boy.
And you hear her scream.
Bones crunching.
Yeah.
And all that good. That's.
Yeah.
What a shame.
Well, hey, there we know. See, now we've seen something worse than a cow getting eaten.
Right?
Yeah, you've seen a person get eaten.
Joel's not having good dreams tonight.
So here we
Bugs
go.
are not okay.
For Haru. Oh boy.
Oh,
We got a
man.
2 of spades. For Railin, we've got the 9 of hearts. For Macario, we've got the King of clubs. And for Rachel, we've got the 5 of clubs. And for the Rattler Young'un, lucky you're not facing off against a full-grown Rattler. Rattler Young'un, 9 of spades. So, Macario, you're up first.
Yeah, so Macario kind of gasps in horror as he sees this woman go down, but he acts as quickly as he can to get a lasso around this thing and try to get it underneath this thing's gills, sort of, and tie it down and keep it from moving around too much so somebody else can get closer and grab it.
Okay, all right. Is that a throwing skill for the Lario?
So the way the lariat works is it has automatic reach to it, so he can do it from, I think, 10 feet? Is that what reach is? I don't remember.
I don't remember. Whatever.
But it's a reach weapon. It does no damage, but I can use my fighting die to do an agility trick with it. So it's basically a way of doing agility tricks using your fighting.
Okay. And from a range.
Yeah, and it has some special properties where you can knock something prone if you get a raise, and there's stuff like that too.
And your goal is basically to lasso this thing and keep it on the surface.
Yeah, so it can't do any more damage, and somebody else can stab it or grab it or cage it or whatever they're going to do.
They have a reach of 1 inch, is what it says.
1 inch, yeah, that's about 2 yards in game terms.
I rolled really bad, but I have 4
You do have a ton of
mass,
minis,
so I'm
so
spending all
let's
those
do
minis.
And I resisted with my agility, right? I gotta get dice out.
Yeah, you would resist it with your parry, just like an attack.
Oh, my parry? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I don't have to get dice out for that.
That's better. So that is a 10 to hit.
A 10.
Actually, I'm sorry, a 12 to hit.
12 to hit. Well, it's got a parry of 5, so that's a raise. So it's shaken, and you have it. A +2, I think, in this circumstance for you is not going to help you too much. But it is shaken,
Yeah, so it's
and
shaken.
you've got it lassoed, and you've planted your foot. Maybe You describe it. You lassoed it for sure, but describe the scene. Describe the scene.
So basically, he wraps his lasso around this thing, and he puts both of his feet on like a tent peg that is sticking out of the ground, so he gets more leverage, and he pulls this thing backwards to the ground, and basically slams it against the hard part of the ground where it's prone. You know,
it's soft underbelly's exposed.
Yeah, it's prone. It's so basically what this does is -2 to its parry to any other melee attacks.
Okay.
In this turn until it can free itself, which it has to do with a strength check.
Okay.
And
cool.
then it's prone and shaken.
Sweet. That is exactly what happens, and it is its turn next. So first, I gotta try and unshake.
You need dice for that?
I do. I've got my dice though. So.
Actually, let me double check the rules here. I wrote them down.
It's okay. We'll follow up on it later. I like it though.
Okay, it doesn't have to use a strength check. It just has to unshake, and then it'll still be prone, but it'll be
Really?
unshaken. Yeah.
Not lassoed still.
No.
Okay. Well, I'm going to spend a Benny, especially since it's the end of the evening. So it unshakes, kind of shakes itself free of your lasso, and you can tell I'm getting old. I can't even read the fucking book.
Because you got the small book.
Yeah. Let's see. Notice roll. Oh, it sees you, and it's going to come for you. It doesn't like that you lassoed it, and so it kind of... You see the little mound of dirt as it comes rushing towards you, and it pops up in front of you. What's your parry?
It is 9.
Oh, shit.
Oh, wow.
Well, I only got a 4, so... it gets the +1 game, which is not going to help it at all. That's quick. So yeah, it pops up and it's trying to swing at you, and you're like, using your lariat to just knock its tentacles out of the way, or you're dodging out of the way, however you want to describe it.
He leaps off of the little tent peg that he was on, and almost does like a half flip to his feet to the side of it when
Sweet.
it goes for him.
I like it.
It's pretty acrobatic.
Mm-hmm.
That's really cool.
Railin, it's your turn.
Alright, I am gonna go woo-woo! And shoot the railgun.
Alright.
It's a nice overcharged bolt, which is going to spend an extra power point, but I get 3d6 damage.
Nice.
3d6. Oh, yeah. Maybe 46 damage. Just a 13 to hit.
Sweet. Yeah, that's going to raise.
Feel it all now. That's not too great. 11 damage.
Well, I'm going to try and soak that. What's my bigger? Oh boy. No, I'm going to try and soak it again.
Alright, get rid of all the minis right away.
Yeah, well, we're basically at the end of the session. I just wanted to last it, make the battle last a little bit longer, but nope.
Let everyone try to get an attack on
No, you fire off that railgun of yours. Woo! Something like that. Woo! Yeah. And
Every time.
this thing's reared up. It's trying to attack Macario, who's leapt agilely out of the way, and then your railroad spike that you fired hits it from one side, and you see its guts just spray out the other as it punctures it, and the thing screams and screams and reels back, and then flops over and writhes for a second, and then goes still and limp.
That is a badass railgun.
Yeah.
And the Rattler Youngin is dead.
Alright.
But in the Chaos and Confusion, you lost sight of the guy you saw. You kind of saw what direction he went in.
Oh, okay.
There's lots of people running around. Why don't you all give me notice rolls? You three who didn't necessarily see the dude before, give me a roll at -2. You can roll at +2. You were, and especially since you didn't get a chance to act in the combat, you were able to kind of like, okay, I saw that guy steal his skull. That thing's dead. Where did he go?
Okay.
I didn't get deck.
That's true. Since it's the end of the session.
Yeah.
Two.
This is the end of the session. Spend.
Yeah.
I'm adding a d6 to my roll.
Okay.
spin.
Oh yeah, sure. I'll add a D6 to my
Alright.
roll. Oh, it's 6.
I'll just do a reroll.
So
okay.
9.
I got a 10.
I'll add D6 to mine.
I was blind to the commotion.
Do you add them
Can I
together?
keep them again to reroll?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You add, you get your whatever.
You take your best of whatever.
I
you
spent
roll.
a blue penny.
Reroll
So I
again.
got a 9 on this one.
18,
And then-
baby.
Oh.
And then you spent a blue
A
penny?
5.
Ooh.
Well, I had a 5 and I spent a blue penny.
Ooh, I got
Oh,
a
and then you got a 9. Yeah.
17.
You add that together.
Oh,
So you
okay.
got 14.
All right.
So
Well, minus 2,
14.
so 15.
Alright. We all got raises.
All right, so
Wait a minute. I want to. No. I want to beat everybody.
So what happens? You all see this with the chaos and the confusion. You don't necessarily have time to act upon it right away, but you see this guy come running out. He's got a skull tucked under one arm. It's big enough that like he can't keep it concealed. He's trying, but he's not doing a great
Put it in
job
his
of it.
jacket and make him look like he has one boob.
Right?
Shove it up under his shirt, pretend like he's pregnant.
Yeah. But he comes running out. You see a second guy come running from what's left of the Rattler wagon. And he kind of joins up with this guy and 2 others who are standing kind of nearby with horses. They get up on those horses and they ride off kind of towards Ashland, but definitely like straight out into the forest.
Ooh. Weird thought.
Uh-huh.
Can I roll a common knowledge check to see if it looks like Ezekiel Boone at all?
Sure. You mean Jonathan Graves?
Oh, yeah.
Grove?
Grove, that's right.
Although, now that I've said it, I like Graves a lot better.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to change that. Jonathan Graves is the
Okay.
stagecoach robber.
Okay.
I got a 4.
4?
Yeah.
No.
Okay. No.
You don't recognize Jonathan Graves.
Okay.
I totally like that a lot better than Grove. But you definitely see these 4 guys, and everyone got a raise at least, right?
Yeah.
You definitely recognize these guys again. They stood out, especially because they're, where everyone else was like running and screaming and panicking. Oh God, there's a fucking rattler loose. These guys were pretty straightforward and calm. Maybe the guys that were running from the wagons were just a little panicked, like, okay, we just let a rattler loose, fucking run.
They were calmly more. They were like, we've got a destination where everyone else is kind of like,
right. They knew where they were running, where everyone else was just like, I'm trying to get out of the area and I don't know where I'm going.
there's a difference between panic and get out.
Yeah, yeah.
It's worth asking. The woman is dead, 100%.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, she got hit.
I think Macario goes and checks that, and he kind of looks sad and closes his eyes and puts his hand over his heart.
Oh. So what is what's your course of action? What do you want to do? Those of you who've lived here long enough know that going out into the forest at night is not a great idea. People who do that, at least the people who go out alone, have a tendency to not come back.
Well, also they were on horseback, right?
Yeah, they were on horseback.
Me horse not here.
Yeah.
Well,
And there's a lot of chaos and confusion going
Yeah.
on still at the circus, even though the Rattler is dead now.
Rachel's gonna probably look for Mordecai.
Okay. Yeah,
Because
you
he's
find
in
him
charge.
pretty easily. He's reacting, like trying to direct people and
Yeah.
get things under control, and especially once he sees that his Rattler is dead. And you see kind of this brief moment, brief twinge of regret that one of his attractions has been killed. But it's just the briefest moment, and there's more of a relief that only one person really got killed.
Right.
So as far as his priorities go, you just at a glance you kind of figure his heart's in the right place.
Okay, so Rachel's gonna flash her badge at him and just be like, "Are you getting things under control here?"
Well, I'm certainly trying.
Okay.
Deputy, is
Yeah.
that correct?
Deputy Kennedy.
I hope I can rely on you to help get your local civilians under control. I think the threat is past, but I've got my people already securing my attractions and my creatures and stuff. So rest assured, there will be no more unplanned releases this evening.
Good. I'm gonna be I'm so tired. Sorry.
That's okay.
Let's see. I'm going to be establishing order. I need to go look at the body, see if I can identify who it is.
Body?
Yeah, a woman.
There's not really much body left.
Crush.
Goop. She got eaten.
Oh.
People jelly.
Yeah.
Well, there is a body left. It's just inside of another body.
Yeah.
Her name was Patty, and she got pateed.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awful.
And it wasn't like she got eaten whole. This thing wasn't quite big enough to eat her in one gulp. Yeah.
That's brutal. So, like, there's no way to identify who it was?
There's definitely a way. If you're going to
Okay.
identify who it was, it's
I
going to
have
take
a
some
name.
time.
Oh, okay.
It's gonna, shit, Benny. It's going to take some time. You're going to have to cut this thing open and gut it and try to sift through its stomach contents.
Well, that sounds like a
So
job
it's going to be a
for
process.
the doc to handle.
There you go. Yeah.
I'll just like let them know that I'm there. I'm establishing order.
Sure.
Calming down civilians. I'm assuming that the marshal.
Give me a knowledge law roll to establish order there. You're kind of trying to take charge, get people to stop running every which way
Right.
and panicking.
I'll
Oh
Benny that.
boy! All right.
Unless
that.
you want
No,
to, we might as well.
I mean unless you want a Benny for it, but I don't think it will really
want that.
serve the narrative at this point in time.
6, there we go. So 11.
11. All right. Yeah, you're able to get like all right, everyone, calm down. Threat's done. Just stop running everywhere. Go home in an orderly fashion and. Marshal Markson shows up, and a couple of his own deputies show up, and they don't necessarily take over the situation, but they definitely take charge and
Right.
they start all right, folks.
Which is there.
Right, but you're the sheriff's deputy, not
Oh,
the
okay.
marshal's deputy. So you,
Sweet.
at least as far as the other deputies are concerned, you outrank them a bit. You're probably on par with the marshal.
Oh, okay, cool.
I'd say. I don't
Yeah,
know
so
if that's
we'll-
really a real thing, but we'll go with it.
Yeah, we'll start calming down civilians, sending them home.
Yeah, that's no problem. And after maybe a couple hours, and we'll get to you guys and what you're doing in this time as well. But after maybe an hour of kind of managing the situation, Mordecai comes up to you and says, I think a few of my attractions are missing.
Yeah, we saw some men ride off into the woods on some horses. It looked like they had taken at least this skull from the
The skull?
What did you call it? The
Oddities
the
wagon.
oddities wagon. I can recognize them again, but I'm not walking into the woods after dark.
Well, listen, I don't mean to cause alarm, but it's really quite important that I get that skull back, and I'm willing to pay a reward if you want to get a posse together to return that. It's really not great if it goes missing for very long. If you, deputy, can see to it that it gets returned, I'm willing to pay $50 per person who's involved in that endeavor.
Sure, I'll special round of posse, but I need to know, why is the skull so dangerous?
It's just very valuable. I paid a lot of money for that, and honestly, it may be shocking, but I paid more money for the skull of Attila than I did for the rattler that the young lady killed.
Can I see if he's lying about that?
And you can give me persuasion, I think, would be a good one.
I don't have persuasion.
Yeah, you do.
You have a D4 at least.
Oh, I do?
Yeah, we're using the core abilities
nice.
that are hinted at in
I'm
the
just
new
curious
edition.
if he's like lying about it being dangerous or not, basically. Wrong Benny there. 4.
4?
7. 4.
8. Oh boy.
7 or 9.
8, 9.
Subtracted it instead of added it.
Math.
You feel like maybe he's holding something back,
Okay.
but you have no idea why a skull.
Right.
I mean, granted, you are a hexslinger. You deal with the
Right.
arcane, but at the same time, precisely how a skull could be all that dangerous. Like you're pretty sure. Maybe he's lying in the sense that maybe he stole it and he didn't really pay that much for it. You're not sure, but he's pretty anxious about getting it back.
I won't push. I just was curious to see.
Okay.
So, yeah, I'll run. Posse will head out in the morning. It ain't safe to ride in those woods after dark.
No, it doesn't look like it.
Especially when I even find just the bodies of those men who took the skull.
Oh, really? Well, so long as we get the skull back. Those men are, honestly, if all the signs looks like someone sabotaged the Rattler's wagon so that it got loose, it wasn't an accident. I'm pretty sure those men were most likely responsible.
Well, if they...
I had a
we
few
find
other
them
things
alive.
go missing, but I'm not nearly as worried about those as I am about the skull.
If you find them alive, we'll bring them in. I expect they'll hang.
Good. They're responsible for that woman's death. Terrible thing. Bad for business too, but don't like having someone's death on my conscience.
Yeah. Expect the doc will identify, hopefully, who that poor woman was. So,
Well,
then that...
whatever the doctor's fees, we'll cover them.
I'm glad to hear you say that.
The sooner we find them. I understand the forest is dangerous at night, so first thing tomorrow morning, I'd appreciate that. And let people know $50 a person for recovery of that skull.
I will. I'm sure it's super happy. They head back out. Probably there's still lots of...
Oh,
sure.
You start to walk away, and he called out, "Oh, deputy!
So turn around.
Listen, if you when you find that skull," and he pulled out this heavy black velvet bag, and he says, "Put it in this. It's quite fragile. I would hate for it to get damaged on the journey back."
So she'll take the bag, kind of in this like long look, and be like, "Alright," and then she'll turn the head out.
Alright.
Kind of like letting him know that she knows that he's not
Totally being honest.
Yeah.
I know you know.
Right.
You know.
Yeah,
He knows
exactly.
that they
Yeah.
know that I know that you know.
So who do you pick for this your posse?
Well, I'm assuming it's
You-
going to
you
be
saw the
3
combat
NPCs,
going.
So
3 NPCs.
Yeah.
That's right. Fuck you guys.
Yeah, you're gonna
Just
hire
3 randos.
you three random guys.
So that's how it
You're a strapping young lad. Come here.
No. Well, I mean,
You saw the combat.
Oh, okay.
You-
Yeah.
It all happened quicker than you could draw your guns and shoot
Right.
this thing. But you saw this
well,
rodeo
yeah.
clown.
In fact, I'll probably have.
Yeah. You saw this rodeo clown like freaking lasso this thing and haul it back just with the raw strength of his own
Definitely
his own
want
arms.
that rodeo clown on my posse.
Where's that guy with the sword?
Yeah, my guy with the sword. No, that's Haru. I want Haru. I'll
Oh, you
I'll
know
probably
Haru,
go to
yeah.
Haru first, in fact, because
Uh-huh.
I've worked with you at least professionally before. And
When the Rattler first escaped, because didn't have much time to react. Anyway,
Right, yeah.
When the Rattler first escaped, he looked over to it, saw people running over it, and decided to turn his attention to keeping other people out of the area.
Okay.
Like, don't run that direction kind of thing.
Cool. So you're kind of doing some crowd control there, just like get out of the way, get out of the way, get out of the way.
Yeah.
I don't remember where that's from.
yeah,
but-
so I'll kind of like stride up to you and call out Haru.
What is it, Deputy Kennedy? How can I help you?
In the morning, I need to form up a posse, go into the woods. Some men stole something during all this chaos, and Mordecai's offered $50 to each person to go retrieve his property. And I think those are the men who let loose the Rattler, so I need to bring him in for justice to be served.
think I saw these men. They were carrying some kind of black skull.
Yeah, that's what Mordecai wants us to retrieve.
$50 a person, you say?
Yeah.
I will gladly hunt these perpetrators of wrongdoings.
And let's be honest, at this point, they're basically murderers, however indirectly.
Yeah. Murderers. They shall be put down for their crimes against these people and the Rattler.
I aim to see him hanged. Hated.
It's very clear that Haru feels just as bad about the woman dying as he does about the Rattler dying too, because the Rattler was only doing what was in its nature.
Right.
So it's kind of
a Rattler.
Did you? Who brought the Rattler down? I didn't see.
Point.
Well, Railin Daisy, I should have known.
a train whistling,
Yep.
and suddenly guts were flying. It was an impressive feat indeed,
And maybe slightly gross.
and also very disgusting.
Sure could use that rail gun at my side, out in them woods.
Well, I sure could use $50.
That's an appropriate response.
And then, are you kind of around the area, like nearby?
Yeah, he's been praying for the woman who died, and he kind of looks up and has a look of determination on his face.
So Rachel will turn and be like, I don't believe I know you, but I saw your skills with that rope there. It's mighty impressive.
Yes, I think you need to talk with my jefe, but I will join you, yes.
Glad to have you with us.
Would I be following and walking with you?
Yeah, I
I'm
would
sure
imagine that we're
you've
all
collected
like,
your
yeah.
your posse.
His
Yeah.
rope skills would be most exceptional if you wish to take these men alive. I believe that he would be a valuable asset.
Yeah, sounds good. We're gonna ride out at dawn, I'm assuming.
Okay.
Ride out at dawn.
Right at dawn.
You have a horse?
That sounds. Oh, go ahead.
I have a horse. I will bring it. But as I say, I must go. I will meet you tomorrow. Where?
Train station.
Yeah, train station.
Yes, train station. I see it out my window. I go see. I meet you there. And then he'll head off to try to talk with the circus master.
Okay, then Mordecai.
Yeah.
Were any of the railway workers at the circus?
Yeah, there were a couple.
I would tell
Not a lot.
I'd tell a couple of them that would recognize me and who I am,
Mm-hmm.
to at least let
Lan Hui.
know that I'm been recruited for a posse.
Okay.
By the deputy.
Yeah, you find someone who's actually like maybe a minor official,
Yeah.
or a bureaucratic worker, or something like that. Someone who would be able to go talk to. We got a minor rodeo here with Porthos. Yeah, you find someone who would actually be able to go talk to Lan Hui and let her know that you're
Because he's going to stay here and he can not go all the way
back to Jacksonville.
Yeah.
That's fine. You were looking for the ringmaster, right, Mordecai?
Right. Yeah.
Macario, sorry your first night with us was like this. It's not normally quite this chaotic or awful.
Macario kind of looks down for a moment and then looks him straight in the eyes and he says, "You have dancers, you have performers, you have animals and delights and comedy and clowns. Why do you need these creatures that kill men? These creatures from lands not here? Why do you need them? See what they have done. See the danger. See the ants today. The ants. You could see them. They crave the blood. They are not meant for this place. Why?
Because people crave
thrill and fear. It is not enough simply for the delights, the dancers and the clowns. People want to. They want to be scared. They come because they know that we will show them the greatest horrors that the world has to offer, and be safe seeing these things where in nature they would not be safe.
Was that woman safe?
Well, until that man released the rattler without my blessing, or anyone's blessing, I would certainly never give him my blessing for the rattler to be released.
And if a man release ants, and if a man release lions, and if a man release... And he kind of goes off like that, just trying to make a point.
Then I would want that man brought to the highest of justice. This carnival, this imaginarium of wonder and terror, yes, of terror, certainly. But this is a place of safety. This is a place where people can witness the awful and the horrific and walk away, soul intact. I want these men brought to justice, Macario.
Yes, you offer me $5 to work for you. Keep your $5. I will bring these men to justice, but think on the life lost tonight. And he leaves after that.
I certainly shall, Macario.
Yep, and so Macario's basically saying, I'm not working for your circus anymore. This is bullshit.
Yeah.
But I will get those men back because they killed a woman, basically.
All right, and that sounds like a good place to end the session. We'll meet up again next Friday. Again, not live because we're not going to compete with some of the other podcasts that are already pretty well established and are competing live. And also, I'm not as technically literate as I thought I was. But thank you, listeners, for tuning in. As always, let us know what you think of the show. Let us know if you enjoy it. Especially, please let me know if you really like the scene of the Siafu, because I was pretty pleased with myself about that. And you can find our website. It's I don't even remember. sites.google.com/view, something like that. I don't know. It's on our Twitter.
Just search RVR Podcast on Google.
Yeah, RVR Podcast. Search RVR Podcast, and you'll find our Facebook. You'll find our Twitter. You'll find our Blogspot website, and you'll find our Google Sites website as well. Feel free to contact me by Twitter, by Facebook, or by email, rvrpodcast@gmail.com. And yeah, I hope everyone enjoyed. I advertised it as Session 0. It really turned more into Session 1. I think we got most of the character creation done before we even hit record. But anyway, I hope you all enjoyed this, and I hope you'll join us again next week for Session 1/2. We'll call it Session 2, really.
Yeah.
Session 2, really.
Session 2, really, yes. All right, you all have a good whatever time of day it is you're listening to this.